Are you going to deliberately try to hit bingo points? No, I'm actually going to do everything in my power to make this a persuasive and effective conversation. Oh, I think it's time. Why did I debate? Why did I agree to this format?
Well, I have to ask them first. Are you all
Howdy.
comfortable if we do super chats at the very end, if they're just asking questions?
Just asking questions. Oof, the dog whistles are out in play already.
Okay, so if you guys are okay with that, just let me know. Vosh, I'm going to go live on my channel right now.
Gotcha, we're live on my channel. Don't say the N-word. Actually, it's YouTube. You can if you want, but probably don't.
I'm more worried about you saying that, buddy. Okay. All right, we're streaming on my channel. Mango, just tell me if that's up.
1 second. I gotta go to your YouTube channel. My tabs are a mess today.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and both of you should already have it turned on, but there's something called noise suppression, where it basically like it filters out your background noise and it makes the audio a lot more crisp. So if you don't have that on already, just turn it on.
I should.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're pretty much.
Yeah, and Fairday, you are not live yet, so you wanna.
No, I'm live now. I see it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, hey everybody, Faraday here. So this is the beginning of a series of debate that we're going to do on the channel, and the first one is a little bit of an interesting one to say the least. So Vosh called out Dankula on Twitter and called him a white supremacist. And Dankula said that that was ridiculous, and then they wanted to have a debate. All the super chats that you guys give in this are going to go to a charity. We haven't decided on which one exactly yet, but it'll be a COVID-19 charity. So yeah, hopefully we'll take some super chat questions at the very end. But
that's great. I just want to say that yes, I did in fact call Count Dankula a white supremacist on Twitter.
Hey! Don't muddy the waters.
No, you've got the names mixed up.
Oh, look at this. Okay, let's boomer it out for a second. I was looking at him laughing. I was like, what is he laughing?
No, it's okay. I mean, I've been called a white supremacist before, so I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. I'm used to the scrutiny. Known SJW Count Dankula impugning me for my racial bias.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Here's how I wanted to start it out. Is white supremacist is like a term that just gets thrown around like crazy, and so I figured that what we could start is we could define our terms, and then and that's how we'll start out. But first of all, let's do introductions. Danko, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Count Dankula, and I would like to say hello to my fellow white Christian brothers in the chat. That's pretty much it, really.
Okay, Vosh, give us a quick introduction.
I'm sure my audience knows that I only recognize their existence if they're not straight, so I don't think it even needs to be said. Yeah, I'm Vosh. I do debates, I guess, even when I don't want to.
We're off to a great start. Okay, I'm only going to chime in to ask clarifying questions or to interrupt you guys if it gets way too heated and you're screaming over each other. Yeah, let's go ahead and before we do opening statements, I figured I'd give you all each the floor to talk before we begin. But Vosh, what do you mean? What is a white supremacist in your definition that you're using here?
Is this just me clarifying the term, or is this my general opening statement?
Just to clarify the term first.
Sure, yeah. So generally speaking, when I say white supremacist, I'm referring to a person who believes that there is A, some sort of fundamental distinction between the races, and B, one who believes that either the white race is superior in some empirical sense, or B, that we need to engage in policies or other social actions to prioritize that group of people. There are a lot of, for example, white supremacists who will say like, well, I'm not a white supremacist because I recognize that Asians and Ashkenazi Jews have a higher IQ, but fundamentally they still advocate for white people. They're supremacist with regards to their social policy. So yeah, my goal ultimately, I'm an egalitarian. I love black people and people of all races, and I'm just trying to make sure we all get through life.
Okay. Dankula, are you fine with that definition of white supremacist before we continue?
For me, like, I would go with the actual definition, which is a person that feels that white people are superior to all other races and all other races are, are or should be subservient to whites and things should be done only for the benefit of whites. Like white ruled countries, apartheid, that type of stuff, the actual definition.
Vosh, do you have any issues with that definition?
Yeah, that's not the actual definition at all. That's a highly unacademic definition of white supremacy. What that does is it sets the bar so high that there's no way to ever prove that anyone is a white supremacist because they would have to buy into a fuck ton of positions before they would actually fit that qualification. White supremacy can be as vague and indifferent as like...
It's nice when it's easy to put people in it, though.
White supremacy can be as vague and indistinct as like a Karen in some suburban neighborhood, like calling the police because she thinks there are some suspicious dudes outside because they're like black and they're just chilling. White supremacy can be very vague. White supremacy can be very definite. It's very difficult to pin down exactly where somebody falls in that spectrum. I'm just interested in promoting anti-racist policies and anti-racist beliefs. I'm sure Count Dankula, as a libertarian and a lover of freedom, will agree with me on virtually every prescriptive statement that I have with regards to race, and we shouldn't really have much to argue about.
But I thought I was a white supremacist. I thought that was the point of this, and also I do enjoy that your definition is very, very vague. That's awfully convenient. But I mean, I thought I was a white supremacist. That was what you said. We're here to debate that. So it's a case of, do you feel I am a white supremacist?
Oh yeah, that's definitely the impression of you that I get. I was making fun of your nominal views, but yeah, like we'll find out what you actually believe, right? Or actually, we'll find out what you're willing to commit to believing, because we can never actually know what a person believes.
Okay, so
you could be talking shit when you say you love black people and love other races as well. Then
yeah, of course, it's impossible to deductively prove whether or not a person actually believes something. It's not possible.
So the thing that we're going into this debate with is that white supremacy is a very vague term that can mean very big, a wide range of things. And even if I confirm that I don't believe in any of those vague things, you never know what I truly believe, so I can still be classed as a white supremacist. Fantastic.
Well, if the debate plays out in such a way that none of the accusations I make are substantiated, and the only thing I can say is, well, we don't actually know, then I'd say you probably won that debate, wouldn't you? See, that's how it works. If we go by your logic, then we could never make any arguments about anything that has to be proven with inductive logic. We would have no way of knowing what anyone believes.
I was just repeating what you said.
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, listen, believe it or not, I don't like the fact that there are white supremacists in the world. I doubt you do either. So if you're not one, that's great. It means one less person that I have to worry about on YouTube.com, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's go ahead. Vosh, since you're putting up the accusation, I'm going to let you go first with the opening statement. Try to keep it somewhat short, and then we'll let Dankula go, and then the rest of the debate, it'll just be open discussion.
Sure. Okay. So I'm actually going to be reframing the context of the discussion a little bit for that inductive-deductive line that I just laid out, because it is literally impossible to deductively prove what another person believes. This isn't usually the type of debate that I have. Like, what does a person believe? That's a very difficult conversation to have. So instead, what I think would be more interesting is if I proceed under the assumption of good faith, that Count Dankula is an egalitarian, and then I build up all the reasons why I have been led to believe that he is not, and I can see how he feels about the accusations that I would levy there. So my argument would not be, Count Dankula, you are a white supremacist, I will prove it, which is not possible. But instead, Count Dankula, I've been given the impression you're a white supremacist. Let's go over the reasons why. I'm interested in hearing your response.
That's not what you said, though. You said that I, in fact, am. You've said it several times.
Yeah, I have to inductively reason it, but I think for the purposes of the discussion, it's better to walk through my thought process as I come to discover your content and the way that you talk and engage with stuff, rather than presumptively making the accusation and then, like, post-talk going over all the assumed evidence. I think it's a better way to go over inductive reasoning. But yeah, I think that, if I may, this will be the end to my opening statement. My guess is what's going to happen here is we're going to engage in good faith conversation for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that is going to devolve into increasingly irreverent back and forth bickering. You're going to say the term, "It's just a joke," "Do you know what a joke is, mate?" or "I'm a fucking comedian" about 80 times over the course of this discussion. We're not going to have any way of actually reasoning out anyone's positions, and it will end up being a complete waste of time. So we're going to see how that goes.
Are we going head first in and saying that "it's just a joke, I'm a comedian" are completely invalid arguments that hold no?
No. I just want to see how many times you say them. They're totally valid arguments, and I have made them in the past.
Okay, then. So basically, you're probably going to ask me a lot about jokes I've made, And the actual arguments that explain these jokes, you're trying to preemptively discredit those arguments by going, oh, if I tell him this, he's probably going to say this, when what I'm going to say is a valid argument.
The fact that you are preemptively defending the "it's just a joke" defense is very telling to the kind of conversation that we're about to have. But to be honest, I mean,
you just preemptively tried to discredit it.
Oh, no, because that's the thing. I've made that joke. Last prediction. You're going to laugh a lot. It's going to be a good way for you to avoid actually arguing with me. But hey, I'm an edgy dude. In fact, I'm in trouble with the left right now. I've made the "it's just a joke" argument many times. However, it's not an all-encompassing argument. You can't say it's just a joke to everything and expect that there's no underlying biases that inform the reason you make those jokes. To me, making jokes about edgy shit like that is a little bit like making jokes about being a pedophile. Now, if you're an edgy boy, and I am, and you are, sometimes making jokes like that can be funny if it's well-timed and well-paced and stuff. I accept that. I'm a big free speech warrior myself. But if you're constantly making jokes about how you like kids, and you hang out with people who unironically say they like kids, and you foster communities full of people who say they like kids, and everyone underneath all your tweets is talking about how, ooh, yeah, they agree, kids are awfully nice to molest, then I would start to wonder, how sincere is the joke defense, and how much of it is just you avoiding responsibility for the stuff you actually believe? So that's more or less the framing I'm going to be approaching this with. But hey, listen, if you're not a white supremacist, you should have a very easy time here, because I'm the one who's making the attack. You're the one who's on the defensive.
So I let you guys kind of go back and forth there a little bit, but I want to give Count Dankula the floor now to talk.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's just the thing is, like, see, whenever you are literally a full-time comedian that does stand up, like me, whenever I say something that offends people, like I usually say, it's just a joke, I'm a comedian. So it's a case of, that is kind of the key argument behind my job, because it's literally what I do for a living. And I did see what you tried to do there, where you tried to preemptively go, I bet you're going to say it's just a joke. Well, of course, I'm literally a comedian. That wasn't a prediction, it was a certainty. It's what comedians have done since the 60s whenever they get challenged for their jokes. Right, so I don't like that you tried to preemptively, sort of shit stir the argument. But the fact is, as well, is I don't really control who follows me or who likes me either. I mean, I've made pedo jokes and everything in the past as well. I've done that. Doesn't mean I'm a pedophile. I've made racist jokes in the past. Doesn't mean that I'm racist. They're just jokes.
Right. So I want to open up. Oh, sorry.
I've got a way to sort of do this right now. You feel that there's certain beliefs that obviously that white supremacists have, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, they'd have to.
Well, why not ask me if I believe in those things?
Oh,
That's
sure.
Yeah,
the answer is because I think you guys lie, because you're spineless cowards. That's the main reason why. So I can ask. I mean, wait, really quickly. Wait. Do you know? Wait. You asked me a question. Wait, I'm just answering. Don't worry. We'll get to it. Okay. So, do you know a person called Nick Fuentes by chance?
Yes, I do.
Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi. Now, listen, free marketplace of ideas. I'll talk about anything, but dude's a Nazi. If I ask him, "Are you a Nazi?" he doesn't say yes. The reason for that is because, especially on the platform that we're on right now, lying about your views is a way more effective way of disseminating them than just being open about it. If everyone who was a bigot just said, yeah, I'm a racist, welcome, we're going to talk about racism, then there probably wouldn't be that many racists in the world. But things like dog whistling are a very effective way of bringing people over. I would say that you're particularly bad at it. I would say the only people who can look at your content and not think there's an underlying bias are people who are willfully delusional or people who are biased themselves. But that's what we're here to discuss. I'm interested in that. Huh? Oh, Whoa, AFK. Why has it been doing that lately? Uh-oh, bring me back in. Faraday. I'm AFK. No. Did we win the debate? Dude, Discord has legit been kicking me out of voice channels every 5 minutes. It's crazy. Running away from the debate. I wonder if Count Dankula is still talking. Whoa! I got fucking AFK booted. What are your server settings?
AFK channel.
I think you may have accidentally clicked off somehow.
All right, here, I'm gonna every 2 minutes I'm gonna click my Discord thing. All right, sorry, wasn't jumping on out there. All right, hit me up. Return.
Wait, video's on. Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, okay, we're back. Yeah. Sorry, it's,
Okay. So basically the setup to this is white supremacy is something that's very vague and can be applied to very, very many things outside of the most commonly recognized or even the officially recognized definition. And regardless of what I say, people could still assume that I'm a white supremacist because we can never confirm what people truly believe. And also, regardless of what I say, it can be discredited as lies because white supremacists lie. What a convenient setup it is for you.
It's funny. Well, it's funny that you're retreating to this because this is how you discuss literally all ideas. So wait, really, I'm actually curious. Wait. Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible that a person could have a belief and lie about it? Do you think that's conceivable?
I do think it's conceivable.
All right, then how do we determine whether or not they have that belief?
You could always ask me.
Wait. I said they lie. So how do we determine whether or not they have that belief?
I guess you're just going to have to trust me, Vosh.
Wait. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about broadly speaking. What do you do if they lie?
But this debate is about me.
Okay, I'm asking you a generalized question that we can apply to the context of this specific discussion. What do you do if a person lies? How do you find out what they actually believe?
I would probably say it reflects in their actions.
Oh, okay. So you're saying you can look at their actions and inductively assume their beliefs from the things they do?
Possibly. Then again, sometimes the action might not actually directly be based on what they believe.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what we're having a discussion about. Yeah, again, like, my dude, I make edgy jokes all the time. I make racist jokes. I make sexist jokes. I get in a lot of trouble because I'm a pretty full-on leftist over here, And I recognize that the it's a joke defense is actually legitimate sometimes because sometimes it's just too funny not to say. But I also recognize sometimes people lie. And one thing that really bothers me is I feel like comedy is getting ruined by people who say they're comedians and that they're just making jokes, but all they're actually doing is using it as a cynical vehicle to push their politics. I love comedy, I love comedy. I've loved stand-up comedians my entire life, I'd like to think I'm a decently funny guy. So when I watch people like nonstop just act like Nazis, but then they're like, whoa, it's just a hilarious prank, my dude. It's just a joke. What, do you hate comedy? I feel like they're kind of the ones who hate comedy. Because what they're doing is they're cheapening the actual value of humor as a means of political communication, and instead they're just using it like as a way of avoiding responsibility for what they believe. True comedians will engage in political commentary. Huh?
Do you do that?
No, I'm very, very open with everything I believe.
Right. So whenever you make your jokes, how do we not know that that's masking something sinister? Because I've heard some of the stuff that you've said in the past. I just recognized it as spicy banter. Like, I think on a few occasions you've said "Glass Israel" as well.
Oh yeah, I got banned off Twitch for that one.
Yeah, whenever I heard, oh, Vosh said this, Vosh said that, I was like, it's clearly a joke. He doesn't want to nuke Israel.
Well,
like that, but
well, like, wait, but that's the thing though. I can defend it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but even when you did that little I know that was a joke. I know that.
No, I mean, I got banned off Twitch for saying that, but my underlying position, which is that I think that Israel is a destructive colonial settler country that's like hurting the people of the Palestine, I stand by that position. Obviously, the sentiment was hyperbolic, but even when I made that joke, Glass Israel, the underlying message was conveying a deep hatred for the country. So even though it was a joke, Twitch was right to ban me because it was the sentiment underlying it was sincere. And so as somebody who's made those comments before, I know just because you're making a joke doesn't mean your hyperbole can't be masking something else. And I can defend my comments on Israel if I want to, but the point is I was hiding an underlying set of beliefs, which I just don't like the state of Israel very much.
I don't really think Twitch was right to ban you for that, if I'm being honest.
For what it's worth, I don't think it was right for you to be hit with that 800-pound fine. I don't think that was a legitimate use of state power for that Nazi pug shit. I don't think that was right either.
Fair enough. But one thing that I do want to get to is the beliefs that white supremacists have. Now, you no doubt have a bunch of, things that white supremacists believe. So ask me, and I'll try my hardest. And usually, whenever I get the temptation, whenever someone asks me a question, I just want to give a meme answer and wind them up, and I'll actually try my hardest to not make jokes and
All
I'll
right,
actually like get what I really believe.
Watch, maybe it would be helpful to pick a particular topic.
Yeah, sure. So what I had is I prepared a little bit of material. Now that's kind of cringy, a little bit of a schoolboy vibe on my part, but I was interested in getting Count Dankula's thoughts on that. And yeah, I'd love that. And hey, listen, if it does devolve into a bunch of shit talking, I'm pretty good at that too. So I'm prepared for both potential axes of this conversation. So the specific reason, I didn't call you out on Twitter, I don't think. I think I said something about you on stream and somebody else tweeted at you. But the thing that I saw specifically off Twitter, it was, the tweet was you saying, since everyone is posting their political journey, and it had all these years where you were describing your political opinions at the time. And in 2003, you say communism sounds great because you were like, I guess, a tanky back then. And it goes down up to modern times. And in 2019, it says the movement I used to be a part of were the source of all of our problems. I assume you're referring to communism there. That's fine. I don't care if you're an anti-communist. And then in 2020, it says despite ... Now, yeah. So despite, and if there's any ambiguity to this, the comments underneath clear it up. Despite,
I can say it if you want.
Oh yeah, sure, go for it. Yeah.
Despite making up only 13% of the population, black people commit 52% of the crime.
Yeah, I've heard that one before, but from some very unsavory people.
Yeah, it's just that whenever I say that, I'm just trying to annoy people.
Okay.
That's literally it.
Right. So the comment section beneath that tweet are literally just chock full of people making racist jokes and posting racist memes. When we say like a joke is racist, we're not saying the subject of that joke is racism. We're saying the joke itself is racist, that just because it's a joke doesn't mean it's not racist. So you're just trying to like, I don't know, you say you're trying to troll people, but your audience seems to like it. They really like the 1350 thing. I don't know who's getting upset by this.
Well, those are the people that didn't really get the point. And the people that are getting upset by it as well, you obviously. But that's pretty much all it is. Because, I mean, it's at the point now where trolling has been around since the inception of the internet. Since the internet, I mean, even trolling's been around since fucking telephones were fucking invented.
Trolling isn't just being racist, and then people in the responses also being racist. That's not trolling. I'm old enough to know what trolling used to be.
I never said that trolling is just racist. That's just a part of it. Trolling, if its most basis form is saying or doing something absolutely outrageous to annoy every single person in the fucking room, just pissing everybody off. And what is the biggest nuke that you can drop in a room in the 2020th year of our Lord? A racist comment.
My dude, if you wanted to get your audience upset, you should have said trans women are women. Your audience is totally fine with this. Your audience loves it. No one here is trolled. No one here is upset.
No. Hold on. You try to say that my audience doesn't like trans women.
Oh, well, okay, that could be a mischaracterization. Wait, that could be a mischaracterization on my part. Do you think your audience, generally speaking, respects the right for trans people to exist? And
my audience really, really like trans women because they have fine tastes.
So do they like trans people as in they support their right to get transitioned? They don't call them like mentally ill? Or are they saying they like trans women because they like trap porn or Fuda porn on their Discord?
But footers aren't traps. Footers aren't trans. That's something completely different, but I don't want to get bogged down in the details of that. But the fact is, right, you will get some people in there that will say trans people are mentally ill, that's a man, blah, 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 and whatever, that's up to them. But there's still a large portion of my audience that are very fond of trans people and respect that trans people, if you want to get fake boobies and present yourself as a woman, that's completely your right. That's completely your business. That's nobody else's business but yours.
Right, okay. I mean, I think that's an agreeable sentiment. I'm not sure to the extent, I didn't do any research on the preponderance of trans supporters in your audience, so I'll just take you on that. I don't know how this is like trolling, I guess. This is the issue that I have with like, it's just a joke. Jokes generally have a punchline. This is just you signaling racism and your audience signaling it back. Like that.
Yeah, you say an outrageous phrase. Like the whole point is the punchline of the joke isn't the phrase itself, it's everyone's reaction to it. That's what the punchline of the joke is. Everybody getting really mad. People find other people getting mad funny.
They're not mad though. They like it. I mean, I can read some of these tweets.
People got mad. I mean, a bunch of people fucking screenshotted it and tweeted it at you, going, "Look at me. He said that. He said this. He said that." That's funny.
My audience, but your audience likes it. Do you think your audience might be cool with racism? Kind of.
Maybe some of them, but not all.
I didn't say all, but like most of the people in the responses here, if they're not talking about your wife and cookies, which I guess was some separate thing, are affirming your, racist beliefs. But they don't seem to be doing it like as a joke. They're just being racist, unless you think like.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Well, that's the thing. We can't deductively, but you realize what we've retreated to right now, right? So you posted something racist, which it did, the 1350 thing. I mean, that's obviously like racial dog whistling, and your audience responded with racism, and everyone here is being racist, and your whole community is like in on the racism. I don't know what the joke is.
It's not the whole community. The joke is everybody getting really, really, really mad about it. Like, say for example, one thing that I used to do, my old Auntie Kathy, God rest her soul, fucking, she is the most militant Christian that I have ever come across in my entire life. Right? Like, because me and my wife were living together, like before we got married, we actually had to hide that from her because she's that militantly Christian. And I used to sit at the dinner table and say, you know what, I've been reading up a lot on Satan. I actually think Satan's a pretty cool guy. I think what God did to him was pretty out of line. And she used to get so fucking angry at me for saying shit like that. No, I don't fucking believe in Satan. I don't believe in any of that airy-fairy fucking shit. But because I used to just do it just to wind her up, just because I thought that her little sense of self-righteousness, getting all mad and shit, this little short, furious Irish woman, I thought that was fucking hilarious.
Do you actually believe in Satan?
No, I don't believe in Satan. I don't actually believe
just curious.
Shit.
Do you think there might be a difference between you riling up a person who you know is going to be mad about it and you being racist to your audience of hundreds of thousands of people while your audience actually likes it and engages in unironic signaling of racism back?
The vast majority of them get that it's ironic.
This is what I mean by ruining like comedy. This isn't a joke. If you want to say it's just shock humor, it's not. Well, I'm not just saying it's not funny. It's literally not a joke. I mean, you can make the argument that like there's this funny like meta-ironic discourse going on in your community, and that's fine. But I mean, from an inductive perspective, the far more likely like outcome here is just that you're racist and your audience is racist, and we are nowhere near the end of evidence to that claim.
But when I said that, you can't deductively think that is what was in my mind.
Well, I can't deductively reason anything about what anyone believes. But in your own words, we would have to look at a person's actions and we would have to infer from the things that they do what they actually believe.
Okay, then. So, are we going to look at tweets that I've done, or are we going to look at actual real-world actions, stuff that I've done?
Well, a tweet is an action. You.
Okay, I know, but that's some pixels on a screen. What about some real-world shit?
Wait. Racism isn't racism if it's done online?
When did I say that?
Well, you just implied a distinction between pixels on a screen and real-world shit. I mean, you affect literally hundreds of thousands of people online. You should know that more than anyone because you're a public figure online. Right?
Okay, then. Okay, in regards to that, I was meaning like stuff actual in the real world, like actual tangible, like stuff, physical things, physical actions.
I don't think that's in any way related. Physical? Do you mean like a video of you like beating up a black guy while saying I hate black people? I don't think that's necessary to inductively reason out your beliefs. If I didn't know a person like in real life at all, I just knew their Twitter persona, I think they could still do things on that Twitter account to make me think they're a racist.
Well, I've see the sheer amount of people on the left that I've actually met in real life, and I've completely changed their mind about the way about what they think of me.
Oh, like who?
They realise that I'm not actually like that. In fact, there was one boy. It was actually a group of trans people when I was at Comic-Con, and basically they says that they didn't like my beliefs and stuff like that, but we actually bonded over our hatred of Graham Linehan. So that was actually very nice. One of them did come up to me afterwards and shake my hand and said, "I hope you turn away from white supremacy." And I was just like,
"Hey, look at that! We're a comrade to the end. Look at that. Even I can break bread with people I disagree with. I'm actually fairly amicable as far as online lefties go, but I gotta hold people to account for their beliefs."
I do that all the time. That's the thing is there's one of the things that gets used on me all the time is, you've only spoken at right-wing conservative free speech events. Why is that? And I'm just like, because the left don't have any.
That's because the left doesn't need free speech events because the left isn't getting like banned off platforms for being Nazis. Usually the reason why the ultra free speech...
No, hold on. Don't turn around and say that That's the only reason that the right wing.
It's one of the bigger reasons, I'd say. It's a
Okay,
large,
it's
significant, perhaps.
It's
portion.
one of, it's not all. There are people out there that are literally getting fucked over by speech laws who barely even fucking did anything.
Well, I'm not talking about speech laws. I'm talking about like online stuff. I'm an anarchist. I very rarely will I support the state invoking state power against a person for things they believe. Like, that'd be extreme shit for me to believe in something like that. But when it comes to online platforms, pretty much most of the people mad over it are either Nazis or lying. I know that, for example, TPUSA had that big event.
That's a fair framing. That's a very fair framing.
Oh, well, wait, if you disagree, like, who is suffering right now from, like, deplatforming who you don't think meets that characterization?
Funnily enough, there's actually been a lot of people on the left who've been getting deplatformed because they're not left enough. Like, for example, Christina Summers is one of them as well.
Christina Summers is not on the left, and she is not deplatformed. What platform has she been taken off of?
Universities. Have you not seen people charging in and fucking drums and rushing her on stage?
Oh, that's not. Wait. That's free speech. I thought you were like a libertarian. Yeah, that's totally fine. Counter protests are part of the process. Yeah, I thought you meant like getting banned off YouTube and Twitter and stuff.
No, you've heard the whole phrase. You know, your right to swing your fist ends at my nose.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, did they hit her? I mean, I don't agree with that.
No, it's the fact that it's like, you are absolutely allowed to have your rights. You're not allowed to use your rights to infringe on another person's rights.
I don't think a person has like a God-given right to present to the college campus without being counter-protested. That's free speech. Like, you're attacking free speech. Like, the sovereign right of citizens to challenge like the platforms of people who present at universities.
Right. Free speech if you don't allow the other person to speak.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't allow them to counter-protest. I don't know, like, you're Scottish, I'm American, like, maybe rebellion's born in my blood or something, but, like, I think counter-protesting is super important.
No, counter-protesting is absolutely fine. I encourage it. I've been at events where protesters have came and gave us shit, and I've defended the rights of the protest. Well, I've defended the right to protest right up until they start throwing bricks at us and beating up women. That was a little bit of an issue. But
if Christina Hoff Sommers was physically attacked, I do denounce that. I'm not actually familiar with the specifics, but if people were just protesting, I'm fine with that. What I meant to say, and I want to clarify, was when I say like people are being deplatformed for being Nazis, I mean like on YouTube and Twitter, like these people are normally very far right for them to get like their channels cut, you know?
Right. Okay. Then. So what about? I forget the name of the news publication. I've actually completely forgotten the name of it. It was posting information about the Chinese COVID virus, and it was censored. It was they had their Twitter.
Epoch Times.
It wasn't Epoch. It was something else.
I'm not familiar with the specifics of that story. If I looked at it, like, I don't know, there are some things I disagree with. I just meant like when we're talking about deplatforming, I meant like big tech companies.
How about we go back to the whole white supremacy thing?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to say things that basically a white supremacist would believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for example, ask me, do I feel the white race is superior to all other races? Ask me.
I mean, I think you're going. Oh, sure. Do you think the white race is superior to all other races?
100%. I'm sorry. I said I wouldn't give me no answers. I'm sorry. My real answer is no. I don't believe
okay,
that.
But I can't.
Ask me, do I believe in an ethno-state?
Would you mind if after you answer that question, I follow it up with some follow-up questions on the ethno-state question?
Absolutely. You can
okay, wonderful. Do you believe in an ethno-state?
No.
Okay, wonderful. All right. I have a couple of questions for you on that specific issue. So in August 28th, 2018, you tweeted, "I am absolutely fine with the replacement of white people as long as it's legal." Right. That's great. I mean, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what that
well, no, what do you mean by that?
That's an argument.
That was me taking the piss out of something Theresa May said.
Well, do you agree with that sentiment?
What, the replacement of white people as long as it's legal?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, would it be illegal? I mean, I suppose if they were loading them onto trains, you know, that'd probably be a bit illegal. But I mean, I don't feel that white people are being removed.
Yeah, okay. So you're okay with America and Scotland and all the other cool countries in the world having pretty much any ethnic composition?
I mean, if that's what happens, that's what happens.
Okay, but you're fine with that, like, and you think that people who oppose that are probably in the wrong? Because people who oppose that would be ethno-staters by definition, as long as we're talking about legal immigration.
By the time it happens, I'll be long fucking dead. Why would I give a shit?
Okay, so you think it's fine. There's no reason why people should feel as though they need to like defend their countries.
We'll defend our country. Well, it depends what you mean. I mean, if we're being attacked from a foreign nation, then we should defend our country.
Right, sure. I mean, like, when I say defend their countries, I'm like invoking like the language of like white supremacists or white nationalists. Like, defend your countries against immigration. So you're totally cool. You don't have a problem at all with like any ethnic composition coming to America or Scotland, as long as they do so like legally and aren't, hurting people.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, you don't see like immigrants coming into the country and like having higher birth rates, for example. You don't see that as an assault on your country. That's
with babies.
So white supremacists and white nationalists would say that would
the
be
immigrant babies are marching over the horizon. They're all heavily armed. They're coming for the white people.
Generally speaking, immigrants commit less crime than the native population. As they assimilate, the rates of crime actually go up because they're becoming more like us. At least that's the case here in America. It's different with refugees, of course, because they're fleeing from much worse circumstances. But the funny thing is that underneath that tweet, a bunch of people call it bait. So you said it was, bait, which is strange to me because the sentiment, I don't care, I'm perfectly fine with the replacement of white people as long as it's legal, is what you just said to me. You just said that. But back in this tweet, you said it was bait.
Yeah, but I knew it would annoy people.
Okay, usually
people on the far right, like white supremacists and stuff like that, because I do actually wind them up too. It's not just the left wingers. Sometimes the far right are pretty fun to fucking wind up as well, Vosh.
Well, do you think it's interesting that when you post something that isn't racist, everyone just responds with, "Oh, this is bait, lol, this is bait," but when you post something that's actually racist, everyone responds by being racist themselves? Does that seem like an interesting juxtaposition to you? Because I think that might belie a lot of things about you and your audience.
Actually, it's mostly because a lot of people on the far right who browse places like Poll and stuff like that, well, some people who are far right and some people who are far right understand irony. That's why, like, see, Poll used to be 100% absolute irony. Used to be complete fucking irony. I remember being on years and years ago. Yeah, years and years ago. Poll was absolute irony. Obviously, as time's gone on, people have thought that Poll, most of Poll is real, and there's a lot of people on Poll who actually do mean what they say. But that's the thing is, like, so basically, people who in the far, right wing, those parts of the internet, they understand the irony. People on the left, don't.
I have never been under the impression that people on the far right are particularly funny. I've found that a lot of them are fucking stupid. I've just found that they're okay with racism. So when people make racist jokes, they laugh at it because they're also racist. It's not like them having a better sense of irony. It's just them also being racist. I don't think it means you have no sense of humor if you hear racism and you're like, oh, fuck that, fuck you. I don't think that means you have no sense of humor. I just think that means you don't like racism. But like, again, like if both of these things are bait, you posting the racist 1350 thing and you posting that it's okay if white people get replaced, you get radically different responses from these. See, because the thing is, if my characterization of your audience as far right is correct, they would be upset by or baited by your replacement of white people is okay thing, but they wouldn't be baited by the racism, and that seems to be the case. They just reacted with more racism.
That's them. What's that got to do with me?
Oh,
that's the actions of others.
Okay.
That's the actions of others. I mean, the fact is, like, my comedy appeals mostly to the right wing, so it's going to bring over everyone from the right wing, including the far right.
To racists.
Right? That's what happens. But, yeah,
well, in this case, it'd be racist. There's nothing in either of these tweets that concern conservative fiscal policy. In this case, we're just talking about bringing over racists. I'm of the opinion that content creators are responsible for their audiences. We can discuss that in a little bit, I guess. I'm a left-leaning person, I have a very, very strict control over what my audience does and believes.
That's fine, but I'd like to go back to the white supremacy thing, because after all, that's the point of the debate.
Well, I would like to see some of that too, like maybe pick another topic.
Right.
Sure. We're nowhere near done. I'm just interested because I know we're going to do the joke thing like quite a bit.
On the white supremacy. I want to focus on the white supremacy. So, say for example, mixed race relationships. Ask me if I don't
care about what you say yes or no. What I'm interested in is testing your reactions to things you've said in the past.
I'm not. If you want to know if I'm a white supremacist, then you should probably ask me, what my beliefs are in certain areas to see if my beliefs match up with white supremacists.
How about instead of asking you what you believe, what if I asked you what you oppose? That's what I'm more interested in. Because if you oppose something, here, I'll give you an example. Okay, wait. I'm reaching out right now.
White supremacy.
But I'm trying to talk about that. Do you like child molestation? Is that a thing you're like a fan or a proponent of?
huge opponent of.
Okay, good. So if you were talking with other child molesters and they were like, I love getting my hands on kids, and you were on a podcast with them or like a YouTube show, would you just sit there and laugh with them? Or do you think you might push back a little bit? And these are actual like child molesters. These aren't people making edgy jokes. These are people who...
I've literally debated them in the past. Yes.
Oh, okay, so you'd agree like it's morally apprehensible for you to be in a position where you're agreeing with and like bolstering like child molesty values.
Yeah, but I know you're trying to compare that to the far right, but whenever I'm hanging out with them and talking to them, I don't agree with them.
But you hang out with them and you laugh at their jokes and share their audience, right? Which I'd feel uncomfortable with if we were comparing these people to child molesters.
But this is the thing, right? See, whenever I'm talking to these people and hanging out with them and stuff like that, do you think I'm just sitting and laughing and smiling along and I'm not challenging their beliefs in any way?
I've watched your things. I think it's a characteristic of spinelessness. So you'll share an audience with them. You'll laugh with their joke. Wait. So you'll share an audience with them.
But how am I going to reach them and change their opinions if I don't speak to them?
I would be very interested if you could find a single far-right person whose opinions have been moved farther to the left for their interaction with you. I'd be very interested in seeing if there's any evidence of that claim. I've moved many people farther to the left.
I will not do it on stream. After this is all done, I will give you names. I will give you names.
Sure. Oh, sure. Okay. So you've
Dankula, I'd be really interested to hear about that as well. By the way.
Yes, there are people that I have literally sat down and had conversations with. But there's some people who I have tried my fucking hardest. I tried for a very, very long fucking time, and I could not fucking get through to. And then one person.
What were you trying to move them on?
Just basically, can you give us an anecdote?
One of the primary ones is I can say it now because he's completely gone from the scene. Millennial Woes. He blames the Jews for everything. Everything's the Jews' fault, and we used to make fun of him for it and everything. Like, we were in London having drinks, and we went outside for a cigarette, and he went, "Oh, it's fucking raining again," and I said, "Oh, it's those Jews with their weather control machines and stuff like that." I was taking the piss out of him, blaming everything on the Jews. But then, like, when we were sitting down and talking, like, I was having the chat with him where he's like, "Oh, Jews this, Jews that," and then I said, "Yeah, but it's not just Jews that are doing that." And he's like, "Oh, but here, look, there's evidence of this and there's evidence of that, and Jews are doing this and Jews are doing that." And I'm like, right, okay, so picture I do this, right? Someone turns around to you and says, "Scottish people are alcoholics," right? And you look at just Scotland, you're looking at just Scottish people, and you find some alcoholics, and then you go, "Oh, well, that confirms it then, Scottish people are alcoholics." And I'm like, so see if you hear that Jews are scheming and doing shit like that, and you're looking only at Jews, then obviously you're going to come away thinking that Jews are scheming. Whereas if you expand the spotlight and you pass the spotlight over fucking everyone, then you'll realise that literally everyone from all walks of life is doing fucking schemy shit. The only thing they all have in common is they have power. And, like, you know, people with power all want more power, and that's why they do fucking schemy shit.
Do you think the Jews have a disproportional amount of power?
No, that's not what I said at
all.
Okay,
I don't think that is. I'm just clarifying. I'm just making sure.
Pick any group, any political party.
Okay, I've just got to make sure. Okay,
no.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually think that's an acceptable response, or at least I'm convinced by that, because I don't actually think you're an anti-Semite. I have a fuck ton of screenshots of you saying a lot of anti-Semitic shit. I don't actually think you're an anti-Semite, though. I've never really gotten that impression from your content. So I'd be willing to bet that's something that you'd be willing to move someone on, though. Have you ever moved somebody over on white supremacy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Then we can talk about that afterwards, I guess. All right, then I'll accept that answer correct because I have no way to disprove your point right now, and we can.
What about mixed race relationships? Ask me about that.
I mean, I don't care what you answer, but yeah. How do you feel about mixed race relationships?
I mean, if we're trying to establish whether or not I'm a white supremacist, then that's a thing to ask me, isn't it? White supremacists don't like race mixing.
But I don't care about asking. I just want to inductively infer from other. Yeah, from other things that they've done.
But if I'm sitting in front of here right now, in front of thousands of people, willing to not meme and actually tell you what my beliefs are, and you're not going to let me do it. I mean, I could right now say some wonderful shit to these thousands of people that are watching the stream and your stream, even though the agreement was this was to be hosted by a third party, but whatever, I'll let that slide.
Oh, I just thought we want as many people donating as possible.
No, the agreement was a third party. I mean, they would all still be donating, but just on the stream. But yeah, but that's the thing is, if I could say lovely things to these people right now about what my beliefs are. Like, for example, mixed race relationships. Do you want to know my opinion on mixed race relationships?
I mean, I have a feeling what you say is going to be identical to what I believe.
I don't care. It's none of my fucking business. I'm not fucking these people. I'm not in a sexual relationship with them. So whoever they have a sexual relationship with is zero of my fucking business. Oh, such and such is dating a black guy, such and such is dating a white guy. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay, that's
these people. I don't give a shit.
Okay, that's great. But with that being said, I don't care what people say about their values. I don't trust any of the people in your community. I don't trust any conservatives or any. Honestly, I trust myself and like close friends.
Isn't that convenient?
Well, no. I don't trust anyone who I disagree with because people are incentivized to lie about their beliefs. Let me give you an example. Pretty soon, next week, I'm going to be debating a man called Caleb Malpin, a tanky, real tanky, like not me, like an actual tanky. This guy's on the left. I mean, he agrees with me almost everything. There are some differences, of course. I don't trust a fucking word out of that guy's mouth. And I'm going to, and when I ask him what he believes, when I talk with him, I'm not going to ask him what he believes. I'm going to show him things he's said and get his reactions to them. Even people who are on my side ostensibly, I can't trust these people because there's a huge incentive for people to lie. Everybody from Sargon of Akkad to Nick Fuentes has either directly to me or openly in relation to me lied about their values. So all I can actually do is try to figure out what you really believe. And while it is possible to excuse behavior with a joke, like I said, you've made many anti-Semitic jokes, but I don't think you're an anti-Semite. Sometimes the preponderance of evidence is so great, it seems more likely you're just disguising bigotry than it is you're just a jokester who has a far-right audience and talks with far-right people and makes far-right jokes.
You're using an awful lot of like the far-right jokes that I've made, far-right jokes. But have you seen any of my other stuff that I've done, or have you only just seen the inflammatory things that people have tweeted at you?
No, I watched a few of your YouTube videos. They're actually pretty okay, I think, for the most part.
See if it was a case of like, this is the one thing that I have to deal with like all the time online now. What people on the left see most of me is my inflammatory jokes, my outrageous statements, and then they get screenshot and they get shared around on the left. But what everyone on like my side sees, people who like religiously watch all my videos and watch everything that I do, these people sit there going, he's not a Nazi, he's not like, do you watch his videos? And it's always people that don't actually watch my content. The only information.
What's anti-Nazi about your other videos?
Well, for the fact is, in quite a few videos, I've said the phrase, I want a world where I'm able to smoke weed and open carry.
Mixed race friends, right? Yeah, the lesbian wedding, yeah.
That they paid for with Bitcoin, right?
Well, how often do you
That statement's probably the most anti-Nazi statement that you could
Well, it's a
make.
Sentiment, but Sargon has said the same stuff, and Sargon is an ethno-nationalist, so I don't know if that's that relevant.
Take it up with him then.
Well, wait, I did twice, and now he's too much of a pussy to talk to me again. Yeah, but the point is people lie about the things they believe. Wait. But here's the issue. Do you have... My beliefs are on the table. I relentlessly attack things that I disagree with. You do a lot of anti-SJW stuff, or like, at least you used to. Like, that was more in the heyday, 2017, 2018. Do you do like long-form content attacking like white supremacy or Nazis? Do you do anything to like actually cultivate your community and keep these people out of it?
Actually, I used to do videos like that. I've done a few videos where instead of like me on camera, it's just me talking. These were like 3 videos, and they're only like serious videos that I've ever done. But one of the major things that I do, and this is the thing that everybody, whenever someone goes, "Oh, Dankula's a supremacist," and that's it, and this is the clip that everybody likes shoving in everyone's face. This was at the Day for Freedom event that happened in London, and it was a huge, the papers did their usual and said, it's a far-right Nazi event, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But when I was actually at the event, I gave a speech when I was on stage, and I sat on stage saying things like, I absolutely reject Nazism, I reject, ethno-nationalism, I reject racism, blah, blah, blah. That was something that I said on stage to like thousands and thousands of people. Like, honestly, I was looking at the street. This was the biggest crowd. I've done loads of events in big halls. But
Nick Fuentes has said that. The I disavow thing is literally a meme. There are video cams of Charlottesville.
God, this was 2018 before that thing. That was even a fucking
Charlottesville
thing,
was 2017, and there were video cams of people like James Alsop going around like, we disavow, like the Ku Klux Klan, but they're all Nazis.
Oh, right, okay. And so here's the thing is, so basically whenever I make a spicy joke, it's probably, showing my underhanded Nazi beliefs. But whenever I give an actual sincere statement about what I actually believe, believe, oh, it's just a meme and probably not true, because all the people do is lie. I mean,
okay, wait, can I ask you a question? Maybe we can find common ground here.
You've set parameters to this argument where no matter what happens, you win.
No, it's not. No. It's just I don't care what you say you are. You keep getting upset with me because you keep assuming that I place any value in how people describe their beliefs.
Calling out your bullshit is not me getting upset.
Okay, fine. My apologies. The reason you're calling out my bullshit is because you keep assuming I give a fuck about what anyone says about their beliefs. I'm trying to judge people based on their actions, which is what you said was a legitimate way of engaging in inductive reasoning earlier. So let me ask you a question, okay? So we agree racism is a thing, I imagine. How would you feel, or let's take a scenario, okay? You're a kid, or you're like a 16-year-old. You've got a father, white father, suburbs, the whole 9 yards, white picket fence. And this father, for the most part, perfectly reasonable person, decent, wears a sweater vest, great guy, okay? But then your sister goes out with a black guy, and your father gets real fucking mad about it. Now, he doesn't say anything like, I think all whites are superior to black people, but he's clearly uncomfortable meeting the guy. He clenches his fist. He talks to his daughter saying like, hey, listen, I want you going out with the right kinds of people, okay? He never outwardly confirms anything, but all of his behavior seems to indicate that he's got a racial bias. Now, do you think it would be fair of me to look at that behavior and say, hey, Dad, you're kind of fucking racist, even though I can point to years of precedent of that dad ostensibly being in favor of racial egalitarianism? This is the joke people make about all the fucking like liberals and Karens who are like these big woke progressives online, but then when it actually comes down to it, they harbor some pretty severe biases. That's my concern. I don't actually place much credence in what people say about themselves. At the end of the day, it's about the actions they engage in.
Then basically, if you are here to establish like whether or not I am a white supremacist, and you're saying that what the standard you're trying to set is don't place credence in what other people say, but you somehow get to act as the voice of authority to your thousands of viewers, and they're supposed to believe what you say. You've kind of discredited like
No. I'm not saying you can't believe what people say. I'm saying you can't believe what people say about themselves. I'm just trying to make arguments as to why a reasonable person might interpret your behavior as racist.
Right, I don't find it very reasonable when my jokes are treated as actual factual statements about my beliefs, but whenever I make actual serious statements about my beliefs, those are disregarded.
Okay, because jokes are a good way. Jokes are a form of communication that can harbor underlying intent. Do you think it's possible that a person can make racist jokes to signal racism?
Do you want to know what is much, much better than using a joke for that? Giving an actual sincere statement.
No, because wait. Then why is it? I'm very familiar with the content of people like Nick Fuentes. Why is it that whenever he makes sincere statements about his beliefs, he comes off very much like a good patriot? Wait. But this is the thing. You keep tripping at the hurdle, dude. I'm trying to pick you up and move you past this goalpost. You keep tripping over. Okay. I don't care what you say about yourself. I care about your actions.
Okay, Bosch.
I'm trying to help you out. I just want to talk about your actions.
I'm not Nick Fuentes. I'm not Sargon, right? I'm not any of those people.
Okay, yeah, you're you.
Bringing them into it. Yeah, I'm me, right? And I'm here telling you what I actually
You're you. You're a beautiful... No, I don't care what you say. I just want to go over your actions. And when you say stuff like, well, what does it matter? I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and do your accent. You sound fine. When you say stuff like, how could you possibly say I'm racist just because of a couple of jokes I make, when apart from those jokes I say I'm not racist? Well, because I know lots of racist people who do exactly that. So clearly it's possible to harbor racist intent and express it through jokes.
Okay. Vosh, are you a pedophile?
Not to my knowledge. I hope not.
Right.
Yeah, no. Okay, there.
I know a lot of pedophiles that whenever you ask them that, they say no.
Oh, yeah, okay, true. And that's why when I think a person is a pedophile, I wouldn't ask them. I would look to see if they've engaged in any creepy behavior with underage people.
But how would you really know? Most of that happens in the DMs. No one's really public about that. They like to hide it. Maybe
it can be really tough. Yeah, inductively reasoning people's beliefs is really difficult.
Maybe they mask it, you know. Maybe they wear the paedophile uniform, which is apparently a beard and glasses and a ponytail.
Are you digging my appearance? Are we going right to insulting one another? I'm trying so hard. I'm reaching out to you, Count. I'm trying to find some parallels.
You're not really reaching out. What you did is at the start of this, you went, here are the parameters of the argument, and I've chosen these parameters so that no matter the outcome of this, I am the winner. Go me.
No,
Right.
but I set but I set a very high threshold for myself. I knew coming into this discussion, there was literally no way for me to prove you're a white supremacist. I hung that up at the door from the very beginning. What I'm trying to do is show you the reasons why I think you are, and I'm interested in hearing your criticisms of my analysis of your actions.
Okay, then that's fine. I would still say the best way to do it would be to ask me, do I share beliefs with white
I can't. It
supremacists?
doesn't matter if I ask you.
Like that. Yes,
We need to look
but
at your
that's the thing.
actions.
So basically, the secret hidden meaning behind my spicy memes are what we really need to look at here. But my actual sincere statements,
Okay, wait, let's go back to the dad. Let's go back to the racist dad. If we could talk to that dad about the racism, do you think it's reasonable to accuse that dad of being racist? Or say like, hey dad, I think you might have a little bit of a weird racist thing about your daughter's boyfriend. Do you think that might be like a thing you could do?
Yeah, that's something that you could do because that's actually something tangible that he's done. Basically,
All he's done is say things which can be interpreted as racist, which you've done more of than the dad has in this analogy.
Okay, but here's the thing is, right? Let's say, right, that you had a dad who likes to make the occasional racist joke at the dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
Some people laugh and have but then his daughter brings Big Tyrone home, 6'8", shoulders like the side of a bus, and instead the dad's really friendly with him and going, "Hi, how you doing? Come on in. Do you want a beer?" Right, but would you then say that basically that's completely discredited because he's made years of racist jokes? But when he actually, was confronted with a situation like that in the real world, instead of acting racist or displaying a racial bias, he acted like a normal.
Are you asking me if it's possible for a person to be racist and have a black friend?
No, that's not what I asked you.
That is what you asked me. I think it's possible that the dad is just an edgy meme lord and that he's actually totally fine with black people. But I also think it's possible.
Can I hear those words again?
But I've always acknowledged. Wait, yeah, of course. Wait, I said at the beginning of this discussion that the "it's just a joke" thing isn't always a bad argument. I've made that argument.
Please say those words again, though. I know. I just loved hearing them. They were just beautiful. They were music to my ears. They were Chopin in the later years.
Are you under the impression this is a concession on my part?
No,
okay. So you just like your if you just like the sound of my voice, then yeah, I'll say it real nice for you. Okay. It is entirely possible that the jokes don't belie an underlying racist intent.
No, that wasn't exactly it.
Oh, I actually forget. I forget the exact thing. That's basically what I said, though, right? I forget the exact thing.
He's not racist. He's just an edgy meme lord.
Yeah. That's totally possible. But it's also possible. And the second thing I was going to say is that that's not the case, and that he's just faking being okay around Tyrone because Tyrone's 6'8", and actually he's secretly.
So he's fucked either way.
No, I'm saying the jokes on their own aren't enough. You have to discuss the underlying intent. Inductive reasoning is difficult. It's not as easy as just looking at statistical information. That's an easy discussion. Just find data that pertains to the question.
Let's go back.
Wait, but I want to ask you. Wait. So really quickly. So about the dad. So first analogy. Yeah. He's weird about the daughter dating a black guy. Okay. So how do you think I would feel if I'm the dad's son? So I'm the son, I guess. And I walk up and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I feel like you're being a little bit racist about my sister's boyfriend. That's a little strange." And he's like, "Ask me how I feel about black people." Well, that's one way to go about it. Or he says, "Ask me how I feel about black people. Ask me, do you love black people? I love black people." Oh, damn, I guess there's no issue then. The problem is what you're doing. Wait. Okay, but now I'm going to make a prescriptive argument to you, okay? I'm going to make the assumption.
Do you have any examples of me acting weird with black people in the real world or anything like that? Or me acting weird with minorities?
No, not at all. Not even slightly. No, but I knew racist people in high school who also got along just fine with black and brown people. So it doesn't mean much to me.
Well, if they were racist, they were very fucking shit at it.
No, you can be racist internally, but you can still like have black and brown friends. You're literally giving the like black friend argument right now.
That's like a low tier fucking racist though, isn't it?
You can argue it's a low tier. Well, that's the thing. And here's the big distinction. I would never waste time arguing about your perspective if you weren't a huge public figure. The issue isn't, I don't care what's going on in your head, really. That doesn't really bother me. The issue that I have is the effect that you have on the world. So it seems to me like your behavior, even if we are to be incredibly charitable and assume that all of it is just jokes, all of it for years, which is not impossible, That doesn't change the fact that your audience, a lot of it, seems to be unironically racist. As judging by those 2 tweets, you post 2 bait tweets. One of them is, I'm okay with white people being replaced, and all your audience is like, bait, troll, haha, nice one.
Yeah,
you post 1350,
know.
and your audience is like, you're right, those black people, 1350. Like, yeah, like it's pretty clear how your audience is responding to your humor.
Vosh, right?
Mm-hmm.
I posted that one to wind up, the far right community who have no memes and no irony and no all that stuff, and they went, "That's bait. You're just trying to get a wind up out of us." And then I posted the 1350 meme, and they all start doing it as well because they're joining in on winding everyone up.
It's all a joke. It's all a joke. So when you post 1350 and everyone else posts 1350, your audience is all joking too. Wait, then in the first tweet, why didn't they bait too? Wait. Then in the first one with the white great replacement thing, why didn't they bait too? Why didn't you tweet out, "I'm okay with whites being replaced if it's legal"? And they were all like, "Hey, I agree." They didn't do that back then, huh? There's a difference. Maybe the first tweet actually upset them, but they're not upset by racism. Do you think that's a possibility?
If it's ironic and it's done to wind people up, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like,
then why weren't they wound up by both?
If someone decides because they knew that they were the target, that's why they were the target of it. Like, say for example, if someone wants to, like,
so they're okay with being targeted as targeting black people, but not being targeted as white people. What do we call that? If we're okay with jokes about black people but not white people.
Do you want to know the funny thing is, right, about like telling racist jokes and stuff like that? Like, say for example, the N-word, right? The N-word, right? I'm only saying the N-word because I'm on your stream and because I'm on.
Don't say it on here. No, don't say it on here.
Exactly. If I was anywhere else, I would just say it because I don't
very
like
brave.
being called N-word because that's not my Bosh. The reason I do it is because when you call it the N-word, I don't like giving it the Voldemort factor because when you do that to it, it gives the word power. And I would like to live in a world where that word doesn't have.
This is virtue signaling, but you can go on ahead.
How am I doing? You guys are usually the best at it. Am I doing all right?
No, I'm actually pretty bad at virtue signaling. I'm usually pretty blunt, but that's okay. I'll have my audience grade you afterwards.
Basically, for example, saying the N-word now, going up and saying it to a black person, there's no humour in that. I feel that's kind of mean. If I seen someone go up and do that to a black person, I would tell that person to fuck off. But the best people to say the N-word to is white SJWs. They are the best people to say the N-word to. Because if you say it to a black guy, he's just going to kick your fucking head in and then walk away. And in 5 minutes, he's fucking forgotten all about you. If you say that to like a white SJW, you ruined their fucking
What does this have
month.
to do with anything we were talking about?
Nothing. I just find it fucking funny.
All right, well, that's a fun departure. But getting back, and here's the fundamental question I have for you. You say both the 1350 tweet and the replacing white people tweets were bait, but they got different reactions. Radically different ones. The only explanation, the only explanation for the different reactions is that your audience is more comfortable with racism than they are with legal immigration into white majority countries, which would belie that is the only reasonable explanation for them signaling racism back, but just going like, oh, bait, troll, when you did the white replacement thing. So with that being the case, do you think it's strange that you've attracted that audience?
No, there's other ways that you can explain
like
it.
What?
You know that a lot of people have a sort of a little bit of a herd mentality whenever it comes to something that gets posted, and a lot of the response to a particular posting online can be based on what is in the first few comments that appear on that post. So say, for example, if you posted a fucking funny picture or whatever and people under it go, haha, that's so funny, like most of the other comments will follow that line. They'll copy that first comment. However, if you post a picture and then someone calls it out and says, oh, this picture's fucking fake, instead of getting the ha, you'll get everybody mirroring that.
You said you
comment.
posted bait in 2 tweets. I'm not entirely sure if I understand how this explains the differentiation. So your argument is that there was some sort of weird ulterior social psychology that dictated a completely different response from dozens of people?
That literally is a thing. People usually
Yeah, but that could be equally the case for both. And without a controlling factor, we don't know if that would affect either of them to any greater extent. So
Well, exactly. Well, I guess we're just going to need to throw both examples out then.
wait. No, that's not how it works because I've identified two tweets. Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. So let me clarify. I have identified two tweets that you both claim are bait, and in both of those tweets, there was a different response from the audience. What explains that different response from something you can actually prove differentiates the two?
Sometimes when you use different kinds of bait, you get a different kind of fish.
I agree. When you use racist bait, your audience likes it, and when you use anti-racist bait, your audience doesn't like it. I agree. That would be my argument. Yes.
Some of the audience do, but I mean, do you have anything else apart from like 2 tweets?
Well, I was mostly.
I mean, I've been on this planet for 33 years now. I'm pretty sure there must be more than 2 tweets.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. If a person is implicated in some sort of pedophilia scandal where it's found out that they did some really weird underage grooming shit, do you think that person could come on my stream and say, "Well, I've got 25 years on this planet before this came up. Do you really think I'm a pedophile? Why don't we take a look at the whole history? Do you have any pictures of me at 16 doing any baby raping?"
Okay, well, paedophilia is a sort of this shit don't wash off thing. You know, once you've done it, that's kind of like forever, right? But the fact is, in regards to like, you know, me making a few edgy tweets, which clearly are jokes, you can turn around and say they aren't or anything.
I didn't say they weren't jokes. I said jokes can belie racist intent.
Sorry, I forgot that it's converting into what other people do with it. For example,
I'm trying to give you reasons why I have been given the impression you are a white supremacist.
Right. And I get it. If I was the one that wrote Catcher in the Rye, then John Lennon's murder would have been my fault. But
I'm not sure what that's a reference to.
Yeah, okay. Google John Lennon Catcher in the Rye.
Listen, I'm a Zoomer, okay? I don't know how old you are, right? I'm 14 years old, okay? I'm just Zooming. I play Fortnite.
Basically, a guy read Catcher in the Rye, even though it was just a book.
And the guy fucking killed someone, right? Yeah, wait, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Too bad. Catcher in the Rye is a good book. Kind of a shame.
Yeah, so that's the thing is I don't have any calls to. Well, there are things that I do put calls out to, like say for example, if the government's trying to pass an extremely authoritarian law like they're trying to do in Scotland right now. I say to everyone, you know, write your MPs, do this, do that. Those are the actual genuine calls to action I do. I don't say anything like, you know, load them up on the fucking trains, boys, or anything like that. If there's something direct that I want to say that I feel is important, then I would just directly say it. But I mean, see, even if I was, you know, for years and years building up this racist community, you know, that's building it up with my secret jokes and planting little seeds. I
don't think it's all malicious, by the way. I don't think it's all a conscious effort.
But let's say it as, you know, this is what people say all the time. People use jokes and memes to inspire racists and, you know, plant the seeds in the minds of people to turn them into fascists. Then by me coming on this stream and saying what I actually believe, where, you know, I don't care about race mixing, I don't care about any of that stuff, haven't I just absolutely destroyed years and years of hard work? All that hard work.
Well, I don't think it's. I think it's a subconscious bias. I don't actually think you're a malicious well, maybe you are. I don't know that much about you, but I don't think, at least from like talking to you, I don't actually know if you're Well, I don't know. You don't know if I'm malicious. We don't know. But I don't think that you do some of the things that I criticize you for intentionally. I do sincerely think you're an edgelord, and I know that because I used to be a gigantic fucking edgelord. I've been weaned off a little bit with time, especially now that I'm like a lefty YouTuber or whatever. But I recognize that sometimes you just want to fucking fling those N-words out. You have a great fucking time with it, and then people come at you and they're like, "You're being racist." Like, what? No, I'm not fucking racist. I'm just being edgy. I totally get and I sympathize with that. The issue is, and I recognize this as I got more into sociology, that people can carry unconscious biases that can affect them in ways they're not entirely familiar with. Like, for example, I'm very progressive. It's undeniable that there is some legitimate misogyny somewhere inside of my brain. That's undeniable. I cannot deny that fact. If somebody accused me of being sexist, I might bristle a little bit at the accusation, but I still have to recognize fundamentally, like, yeah, I probably am. I do subscribe a little bit possibly to certain emotional biases. And that's what I worry about here. So you just said, and I'm sorry for rambling a little bit, but you just said, wouldn't it destroy everything I've done if I came on here and I denounced all these things that you're accusing me of cultivating in an audience? And I'd agree with that to an extent, but what I'm interested in is, to what extent are you willing to fight against the ideas that you despise? That's what I think really makes the mark of a man.
My number one goal, literally, and I've said this, I've been saying this for years, is for Britain to have a codified constitution. That is something that I have wanted for fucking years, and that's not something that that's something I've legitimately campaigned for. Like, America has a codified constitution. Britain's is uncodified, which basically, say in America, I think the way it works is if someone wants to make a change to the Constitution, it's a vote. It has to get put to a vote by the people. Whereas in Britain, ours is uncodified, unwritten in some cases, but it can be changed at the whim of Supreme Court judges, not by the people. So our Constitution's fucking pointless.
That's why we call it the Cringe Isles, brother.
No, but that's the thing, is that's something that I've wanted for fucking ages. Basically, when it comes to, you know, I just want to have a government that can't fucking fart without our say so. That's just what I want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I'm a fucking American, dude. Dude, if I posted a fucking YouTube video of some pug doing a Nazi salute, not that I would do that, but if I did do that, and then the government thought they could arrest me for not paying a fine, holy fucking shit, I'd be up in my fucking 1776 revolutionary garb and like musket, single shot musket, like the next day. That's unfathomable to me. So I reckon, I mean, we both care about free speech. I hope that's something we can agree on, because yeah. We maybe have different ideas of how like content creators should platform or like manage their content online, but on a fundamental legal level, what I'm interested in is, okay, so I can speak to the UK specifically. There are all of these people in the UK right now. The world's going through a pretty far like fascist resurgence. At the very least, these ideas are getting more popular. And one of the things that I'm worried about is that a lot of the people on the far right, people with whom in some cases you might have friendly relationships, are pursuing social statuses that are actually antithetical to freedom. So for me, something like closing off your borders to all immigration, creating an ethno-state, enabling like a fascist or one-party government, these things are like the death of free speech in a way that the college SJWs were never even close to being able to invoke.
I don't want any of those either. I mean, immigration being shut down now with COVID, yeah, I get it. I get that. That's fine. In regards to a one-party government, fuck no. Fucking fuck.
Okay. Can I ask you something? Can I probe you on something? I'm genuinely curious. It's not a gotcha. I don't have a right answer for it either. Yeah, okay. So when it comes to deplatforming off YouTube, for example, I want to pose a hypothetical to you. I don't really like deplatforming as a concept because right now, if you want to be relevant, you have to you have to be on YouTube or Twitter or something. You can't just sit in a town square anymore. You have to have a platform. But what if it could be proven to you that by allowing people like Nazis on YouTube, it would eventually guarantee there would be enough social support for Nazism in, say, the UK or America, that they would end up taking over the country and they would end up repealing the free speech rights that they had benefited from just a few years prior. Under those circumstances, do you believe it would be morally permissible to deplatform these people because you're actually protecting free speech by doing so?
No, because then that leaves it up to the companies and the powers that be. And I feel that if everybody wants it, I mean, you're an anarchist, you surely can agree with this point. If you want a good society, then you have to do it from the ground up. Don't get Big Daddy government or Big Daddy Silicon Valley to do it for you.
Ground up like Antifa?
Well, no, they see when you talk about taking away free speech rights, they're some of the fucking worst for fucking doing that.
Antifa, wait, they're exercising their free rights. They're a ground-up organization that, like you just said, is individually with no systemic power taking down people who they think are detrimental to society. That's the ground-up effort. So
when they hit my friend over the head with a brick, punched the other with a knuckle duster. Nothing. Basically, he committed the heinous act of wearing a Trump hat.
Wait, who?
When they beat up Lucy Brown in the street in London. Who was the other? Oh yeah, when we were having an event on, they threatened to firebomb the venue. And then there was a place that we went for our after party after that, and that was the Human Village, little family-owned business who still to this day are getting threatening calls, basically because they've got a young kid, and they were threatening the kid and everything as well.
I can't fact check you on the fly. I know a lot of claims made about Antifa are factually incorrect. Like that shit Andy Ngo puts out, for example. Like a lot of that stuff is like factually untrue.
Lucy Brown, I can send you a video right now of them kicking the shit out of a girl.
Wait, does the video start with her getting kicked the shit out of, or does Lucy Brown actually open by attacking, and then the video starts when they're being counterattacked?
No, they were attacking a male friend of hers. She tried to intervene, shouting "Stop, stop, stop," and then they went for her.
Well, what did the male friend do?
He committed the heinous act of being Tommy Robinson.
Oh, well, hold on now. I don't know. Well, now actually, I'm doing a big think over here. I don't know. Maybe she should have stepped back and let nature take its course a little bit. Tommy Robinson is one of those people who wants to institute a far-right government that would prevent like freedom of speech. I don't know, dude. The rights of an entire country versus one person getting roughed up a little bit by Antifa?
Before we get into Tommy, I have to interrupt. So there was a confusion when I set this up. I did not understand Dank's point that he wanted me to exclusively stream this. I thought it was just here to moderate this and collect super chats.
No,
that's totally my fault. But there's a bunch of people that have concerns in the chat. Vosh, are you going to be donating proceeds from this stream to a charity that we agree on?
Yeah, of course. Wait, yeah, I'm not gonna. Well, yeah, I said like proceeds go to COVID-19. I'm not going to say like just proceeds done to your stream. Like, yeah, of course.
Okay. I just want to clarify that for everybody in chat. Now, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'll let you guys go back.
No worries. We got a couple people already dropped a few hundred. Like they're being real nice.
It's just to clarify a few things then. If someone wants to pass laws that restrict a person's rights, then it's okay to assault them.
Without being familiar with the specific incident, I don't know what led exactly to the assault, but I would say that yes, when if you're trying to pass, well, I'll just assume your version of the events. Yeah, I would consider.
Just to clarify.
Sure. Go ahead.
You're then saying it's okay for me to assault members of the SNP and the Labour parties, who are left-wing parties in Britain, because they are currently passing free speech laws that infringe on human rights. You're saying it's okay for me to assault them. They are in fact doing what you claim Tommy wants.
I would argue that passing. So I'm actually familiar with the law that you're referring to, the incitement of hatred without intent being included as something that violates the law. I don't think that passes a sufficient threshold of harm to justify any kind of retaliatory violence. Whereas Tommy Robinson is basically a fascist. Like he is just a fascist.
Right.
Okay, wait! But you're doing the thing. You're doing the thing, though. This is one of the reasons why people accuse you of being far right, because you're playing both sides between a fairly minor alteration to an existing series of hate laws and a literal fascist government. Do you see how these are very different things?
Right. See one thing. See how you say hyperbole. Like one thing I will say is Tommy Robinson is very, very right wing. He is not a Nazi and not a fascist.
He is unquestionably a fascist.
No, he's not.
Why are you defending him? Are you friends with him?
Yes.
Okay, well, there we go. I'm not, so I don't have any weird, presumptuous, biases. Correct? Yeah, no, he's definitely a fascist. Now, if you want to argue fascism is okay...
No, he's not. He's not. You can sit there and you can repeat a lie over and over if you want, Vosh. It doesn't make it true. Right? You can sit and go, oh, he definitely is, yeah. But then I guess all of the information that you know about him is the same as the information that you know about me, where it's just certain things that people have tweeted at you. Right. I mean, one thing I especially loved was that very, very old, the old picture in the early days of the EDL, where it's Tommy Robinson and his friends literally setting fire to a swastika flag. And all that. Yeah, what a fascist. What a fascist.
Wait. Do you think the KKK... Wait, do you think the KKK are anti-Christian when they burn a cross on a black person's lawn?
No, because I know why they do that, and I'm annoyed that the KKK do that, because that's based on old Scottish pagan rituals.
So wait, do you saying that burning a hate symbol... Oh, yes?
Could you give us, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you give us a definition of fascist to work off of here?
Yeah, fascism is an emergent political characteristic defined by a number of propensities, usually involve xenophobia, rabid nationalism, chauvinism, a belief in ethnic superiority. It usually conflates anti-intellectualism and a belief in the simultaneous power and weakness of your enemies. It's more a collection of emotional biases that coalesce into a political belief than it is a very specific political doctrine. Like capitalism, for example, is literally just market economy dictated by laissez-faire, individual ownership of capital. Very easy to describe. But fascism is more of a mental illness, kind of. So it more emerges from people being very, very angry and not having much else to do, and they can't find anyone to fuck them. I could cite a number of researchers who have talked extensively on the on the nature of fascism. But yeah, just what
in the way that you're using it here, just to
Yeah, that would basically be it. But I mean, if we want to talk about the BNP or the EDL, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't come here to argue whether or not like a fascist is a fascist. Like, I think this should be pretty self-evident to anyone even remotely familiar with his...
So basically, Tommy Robinson is a fascist. It's not up for debate. The authority known as Vosh has decided. My word
No,
is law.
it would be like if I came here and I said...
It
would be like if I came here and I said Obama is a liberal, and you said, what? No, Obama is a communist. And like, okay, like I can argue this, but it's not what I came here to do, and I think it should be self-evident to any reasonable person what his political predilections are. I mean, you can say he's not a fascist if you want. I think that he poses a very legitimate threat to free speech and human rights, and I think that getting some retaliatory violence is a pretty reasonable thing, considering the fact that he wants to advocate for like a literal fascist state, you know?
No, that's not what he's arguing.
Because I'm pro-free speech, by the way. I think
me too. It's just that I'm pro-free speech, and I'm using my free speech to call out your speech, although free, but it's also incorrect. It's just if you lie, I'm going to correct you. That's all.
So could we move on from Tommy here? Because
he literally, his Wikipedia page calls him a neo-fascist and a white nationalist.
Yeah, absolutely. Wikipedia.
Oh yeah, wait, I'm sorry, I forgot. The Jews edit Wikipedia. Is there another source, maybe from Tommy Robinson, TommyRobinson.uk, that you can point me to that paints him as a little bit less of a fascist?
No, because that's exactly what I said. I said that the Jews control Wikipedia. That's exactly what I said.
I argue with a lot of people who tell me that my sources are invalid because they come from Semitic sources, so I'm not entirely sure anymore. But no, that was a joke. No. I don't actually think you're an anti-Semite. He might be. I'm not actually sure. I'm not familiar with
No. Tommy, one thing about Tommy, the far right fucking hate Tommy Robinson, and this is the thing, is like, if there's one thing that you should probably personally hate Tommy Robinson for, is he is extremely pro-Israel.
Oh yeah, I see. Robinson denies racism and I question the racism thing, but anti-Semitism, and has declared a support for the Jewish people in Israel, calling himself that. Damn, no wonder the far right hates him. Dude's a Zionist? Okay, so he's not an anti-Semite, all right. He's still a fascist, but yeah. I mean, credit where credit's due.
He's not.
So, could we move on from Tommy, and Vosh, could you prompt
what I want. Can I say what I want? I just want,
go for it.
I just want more white supremacist beliefs, right? Just ask me if there's certain things that I believe in.
I don't care what you say. Why do we keep going?
That's the point of the debate.
No, the point. Wait, then if that was the point of the debate, when they come here in 5 minutes after I ask you, hey, do you believe in racism? You'd say no, and then we'd leave. Like, what's the point of that?
So Vosh, obviously, if you ask a person directly, like, hey, are you a racist? They're obviously going to say no, but maybe you could prompt another topic that white nationalists fundamentally care about.
Maybe that's why Count Dankula doesn't think Tommy Robinson is a fascist, because he asked. Yeah, okay. You're pro-immigration, right?
Pro-immigration, yeah.
Okay, sick. Yeah, me too.
Not uncontrolled immigration, not over the top, but immigration itself, fine.
Yeah, sure. By over the again, I'm more comfortable with American numbers here, just because I'm a fucking burger muncher. But with right now in America, we get about 1 million to 1.1 million people every year, immigrants. Does that sound like a reasonable? Like, do you instinctively react negatively to that number, or does that sound like fine as long as we incorporate them appropriately?
No. So it's a lot of wage slaves, man.
Dankula, what would be the parameters to which you would be against immigration? Or not against it, not the concept, but the levels.
See, if it was getting to the point, well, this is the issue that I have. See, when it comes to unskilled minimum wage jobs, like this is the thing that this is the thing that I've experienced. In fact, see, when it comes to unskilled minimum wage jobs, the market is beyond fucking competitive, like beyond competitive. Oh, no. Whereas, and see if it then gets to the point where like companies are just going to, drop down the benefits, drop down the wages, drop down the hours. They can offer any old dog shit terms for their jobs because there's so many unskilled workers. There's going to be someone in there that will take it. Basically, I just feel that too much immigration overall actually increases poverty because companies have a huge wealthy people, and they're going to find someone among them that's going to take their absolute dog shit terms for a job.
Could I convince you that this isn't the case, and actually immigration bolsters the economic productivity in a country in every conceivable way?
Yeah, there's not mass immigration. I mean, what if America took in like fucking 10 million people?
Well, that'd probably be too much.
Yeah,
But the current amount of immigration we have in the country.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm against. I don't want it being too much when it actually starts causing severe problems.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
Okay, yeah.
If it's at a manageable level, then whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that seems fine to me. I mean, obviously, I want open borders eventually, but I wouldn't want them today. Like, I don't know if our infrastructure could handle that.
No, it couldn't. If we just went full open borders, half the fucking world would come here.
Yeah, well, that's why we have to bolster all the developing nations. That way we need to make them... The world I dream of is a world where the United States can open its borders because everyone would rather go and live in Nicaragua. That, to me, that's a beautiful world, all right? We don't even need to worry about it.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. I do. That means that, which is why I want China to get the fuck out of Africa.
So we can get the fuck in Africa?
No, I want China to get the fuck out of Africa. They're fucking raping that place.
Oh, hey, hello. Ooh. Oh, okay,
No,
all right.
China,
Just making sure we're not doing horseshoe. Yeah, based. Okay, fine with me. Fuck yeah.
No, China, it's far too much to go into, but China are being absolute fucking scumbags to Africa right now. Like, honestly, they're bleeding the place dry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I
Is
can't.
that an anti-imperialist sentiment?
I don't want to conquer anybody. I'm not into colonialism or like, you know, but I know that British foreign policy for a few centuries was going over to a random place, sticking a flag in the ground and butchering the locals. Like, I'm not really down with that. No, I'm not down with getting into tanks and, you know, getting some Lebensraum or anything like that. No, that's not my jam.
All right, well, do you worry about the future at all? I mean, it's pretty much a fact that far-right sentiments are on the rise pretty much across the world right now. It seems to be a product of a lot of things, economic anxiety, stressors concerning global climate change, that kind of stuff. Does it worry you at all, like we're heading in a direction where we're like the real enemy for you isn't like the SJWs, and the real enemy for me isn't like the tankies or whatever, but we're going to be facing an existential threat from like fascism pretty soon?
No, the real enemy for me is, and this would be far left or far right. The reason that my primary focus right now is the far left is because right now the far right, I'm not saying that it's never going to happen, a far right person will never end up in power, right? But right now, like in Britain, we have a lot of far left. I mean, we've got the Labour Party, they like unironically refer to each other as comrade.
Hey,
right,
whoa, let's not, hey, watch the friendly fire, buddy. Me and my fans are big old, it's all ironic, of course.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, picture that you obviously have a problem with, like, the far right. Picture if you had, like, a political party that unironically referred to each other as fucking Obergruppenführer or some shit. You would have an eyebrow raised going,
do you think comrade and Obergruppe, wait, do you think do you think what I do with my comrades over here is bad, like the Nazis?
No, what I'm saying is, basically, the reason I've got more of my primary fear, my biggest fear in the future is a totalitarian government. It could be right wing, it could be left wing. That's my biggest fear. Like, my primary concern is the government itself. I don't want the government having absolute control over, you know, every single facet of our lives. You know, the far right want that, the far left want that. The reason that my primary focus is on the far left is there are people in the far left right now that do actually have institutional power. Like, we have far left parties, we have far left MPs and everything, and that is why I've got a problem. And they're the ones that are constantly trying to pass all the speech laws right now. So that's why.
But isn't Boris Johnson your PM right now?
Boris Johnson's a fud. Like, see.
Well, I agree he's an idiot, but like, he's the one who's. When it comes to
freedom of speech, like this is the thing is, right. Labour actively want to pass, the two primary parties in Britain is Labour and the Conservatives, right? Labour actively want to pass laws to restrict freedom of speech. But that doesn't mean that I like the Tories. Now, the Tories aren't doing anything against freedom of speech, but they're also not doing anything for it because the Tories just simply don't give a shit. Like, the only one person who's fallen out with me now and actually fucking bitches about me now, it was the person that we thought cared about freedom of speech in the Tories was Jacob Rees-Mogg. And he was doing this big free speech stance for ages, like Antifa, like...
What about Tories trying to censor porn in the UK?
That's retarded.
Okay. Yeah, my main concern here is that I feel like there are a lot of free speech warriors who talk about the necessity of like fighting back against far left censorship, when at least right now, at least in America, and I would need to read up more in the UK, but I have a feeling this is probably the case over there too, much of the censorship, almost all of it, is coming from the far right. From Trump threatening to take away or to tighten libel laws so that it's harder for the press to criticize him, for him threatening to take away press credentials for people who criticize him, to the active systemic disenfranchisement of like poor voters in the United States of America. Like in the United States, if you're an American, and again, I don't know as much about the UK, but if you're an American and you're anti-freedom of speech and you're a Republican or you ally in any way, shape, or form with the right, I don't think you actually care about freedom of speech at all. When it comes to the NHS staff gagged over coronavirus shortages. I don't know. I would need to read more into it, but I feel like at the UK this is the case too. Fundamentally, I think this is an issue with liberalism, and fascism is an extension of liberalism to an extent. That at the end of the day, the technocrats in power don't actually give a fuck about the rights of the sovereign citizenry, and they'll do anything they can to keep like a thumb on the population, whether or not like they're right or left. Like, hey, Democrats and Republicans both re-up the fucking Patriot Act every single goddamn time it comes up here in the United States.
We've got a similar thing, which is called it's sort of based on top of that, and it's called the Snooters Charter, which is just one of the most Orwellian fucking documents that's ever come out of there. Because one thing that I've noticed that the governments do a lot is whenever there's any kind of tragedy, the government uses the fear that it creates to try and seize more power. Like one thing that they're doing right now with COVID, like see when it comes to staying at home, segregated from everybody else, not spreading the virus. I feel that is a person's civic duty to do that. Basically, I'm staying at home. Like, whenever I go to visit my gran to make sure she's all right, I'm at the end of her garden, like, shouting towards her because I'm not going to go fucking near her. It is my civic duty to make sure that nobody gets fucking sick. But see, because, like, fucking idiots keep fucking breaching it and going out and doing stupid shit, like going out drinking and partying and all this dumb stuff, the government's going to use that as an excuse to do these emergency powers. Oh, we need to seize this, control of this. We need to seize control of that. Don't worry, it's for your own good. I'm an anarchist. Like, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I just feel like the far right is far more responsible for suppressing the rights of the individual than the left. Usually, when we say left, we're talking about stuff like C-16. Like this is God. I remember like it was yesterday. C-16 from Canada, the most reasonable piece of legislation that hurt nobody and did nothing anyone said it did. But the world lit itself on fire because they thought this was the Canadian far left government like stomping on the throats of every cisgender person in the country. It was insane. Well, the problem is that the laws that we have right now controlling freedom of speech in the UK have all come from the left. Like the law that I was charged under was passed by the Labour Party. Like, I'll admit the Tories have done some like that. The porn thing got abandoned because the pushback from it was so fucking crazy. Like the Tories just went, okay, we're not going to censor porn, which is fine. Like, but the fact is, we've got the SNP right now who are trying to pass a law now. Apparently this law is about equality, whereas they're trying to make misogyny a standalone offence, but misandry is completely fine. Basically,
yeah. Well, you guys have fucked laws with sexism anyway. You realize that's patriarchy, right? Like, didn't the UK have like it's not rape unless you're penetrated or something? Like, you guys have a really fucking weird standard, but yeah, I feel like most of those suppressions of free speech took place back during the Blair days when the Labour Party was basically just like milquetoast liberalism. Like they went and joined us in Iraq. I don't know if that's really a reflection of like the left, but I guess it means what do you define as the left?
No, the fact is that they are in fact still doing it because one of the things as well, like so you've heard of Sargon's infamous "I wouldn't even" comment.
Isn't the Snoopers Charter a Tory policy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's because you brought up the Patriot Act, and I just brought up something similar that we have.
Yeah, I guess just
see Sargon's infamous comment. You know, I wouldn't even like to Jess Phillips.
Yeah, you wouldn't even rape her. Yeah, I remember.
Everyone knows about that comment, but nobody knows why it happened, and it was because like Jess Phillips, very well known person in the Labour Party, she was actually one of the candidates to be the next leader. She was trying to push through a bill that would basically just totally China our internet. Everything's controlled, everything's regulated. Private messages and groups between each other could be monitored, and you could be arrested over things said in this group. And basically, that is why everyone kicked off and went crazy at Jess Phillips, and Jess Phillips went, "Oh, but mean comments online, you know, it's one of those. Here are 10 mean tweets that are going to make you say fuck human rights and shit." Like she tried to pull all of that.
I mean, I don't really give a fuck about Jess Phillips, but yeah, no,
yeah, but that was an example of why that's happening. And then they tried to do it again later. And one of the people that had their name signed on the bill was fucking Jacob Rees-Mogg, and I called him out on it, and that's why he doesn't like me anymore.
Do you think, okay, all right. I don't suppose I could convince you that all these enemies of free speech are liberals and that we need to do a based libertarian socialist collective against?
They're not liberals. They might call themselves liberals, but they're not liberals.
Wait, which group? The Labour Party?
See if anybody...
I promise you the Labour Party is run by fucking libs. Corbyn was the only shot that party had at being reasonable. Liberal in the academic sense refers to anyone who subscribes to the tenets of liberalism but wants to maintain the private ownership of capital. So I'm looking at this from the perspective of a socialist. Yeah.
Whenever I think like liberal, I think of a person that is basically, you do whatever you want, just don't fuck with my shit, like type of thing. You're fine with all, you understand that other people have rights to say and do things as long as it doesn't interfere with the rights of others. That's liberal. Like if someone is doing or saying something you disagree with, you will, counter it with your own speech or actions, but at the end of the day, you won't infringe on that person's rights.
It's more libertarian though, right? I mean, I'm a libertarian, so I mean, if you want to be like based epic libertarian allies here, like I'm totally fine with that. I just talked with a libertarian, Vermin Supreme. He's a pretty cool dude, but he also agreed in the efficacy of Antifa and like local strike breaking, or not strike breaking. Sorry, that's the bad thing. Local like striking, local organizing, counter protesting, that kind of stuff.
But that's the thing is, like, see, whenever it comes to a group, like, I think what has happened to Antifa is the same thing that happened to the EDL. Basically, when the EDL first started, it was literally like people joined, and it was people that were saying there was black members, there was Sikh members, like there was Jewish members, there was all that stuff. But then lots of people ended up joining. Tommy Robinson basically didn't do his house cleaning, and ultimately a bunch of racists did join it. They totally commandeered the entire thing, and it absolutely destroyed the movement. It was the reason. No, but Antifa, like, so say for example,
do you think people have a moral responsibility to keep racists out of their communities? I'm just checking because it seemed you just implied that.
No, I do feel it's something that should be challenged. If you want to challenge it, then you challenge it. That's fine. That's your freedom of speech to do so. But what you don't have a right to do is take a brick over the guy's head. Right? That's not something you have a right to. And I feel that Antifa has been commandeered by people who are violent and just want an excuse to be violent.
Sure, that is totally possible. I've critiqued the optics of Antifa all the time here on this channel.
I can tell you the reason now. Everybody knows I used to be a unironic fucking tanky back in my cringe days, right? I was part of the Young Communists of Scotland. I was part of all these groups, right? And I was in it for a while. And then what ended up happening was, see all the people that you're seeing nowadays that everybody's got the problems with, right? They started joining the group, and this was the thing that I remember this argument happening. You were getting these guys that were in they were in their 40s and 50s who joined the Communist Party purely because they were shipbuilders, they were miners, and then Margaret Thatcher came along and absolutely fucked everything up, totally destroyed their jobs, destroyed their communities. So these guys ended up siding with communism. And then they did that for years, and then came in these new kids who were all radical and fucking, like communism back then when we were in the group, it was all about workers' rights. But then the new wave came in, the ones with the funny coloured hair and the ambiguous gender.
What's wrong with funny coloured hair and ambiguous genders? That's the future of progressivism, my dude. You look pretty wacky yourself with your big ear gauges. You don't think you'd fit in back in the 1960s, do you?
I took them out ages ago.
Wait, you're not going soft on me now, are you? You're not going in back, running with a man, are you?
No, it was mostly because when I was in security, I would get into fights a lot, and they were a problem.
I took my earrings out, and I got giant fucking keloids to thank for it. So hey, listen, we're both suffering. Look, okay, wait. Okay, I feel like we've departed a little bit here. Okay, we both value freedom of speech, clearly, though maybe we disagree slightly on the extent to which it's acceptable for people to enforce that freedom of speech on an individual level. So you don't think, so you would, if you had to choose between two possible scenarios, one in which Antifa or whatever is aggressively trying to deplatform fascists, and one in which the fascists win because Antifa didn't do that, which one would you choose? Now, I know that's not like a likely scenario. Antifa's not exactly like the stalwart defender of Western society, but I'm interested in how you would choose between those two choices.
So basically, I need to choose between a little suffering or a lot of suffering.
Listen, I argue with Bernie or Busters, okay, all the time, and I don't think a lot of people are capable of making that decision, so I'm actually really curious what you believe.
Right, okay then. I will admit, now this does not, for even a fucking second, excuse what Antifa does, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather deal with Antifa than a full-on fascist government with the might of the army and the police behind it, right? But what Antifa does right now is that we are the anti-fascists, yet they're going around beating people up just for wearing a fucking Trump hat. See if they were going after actual unironic fascist groups, not like, say for example, Minds IRL.
Not Tommy Robinson, though.
No, our keynote speaker was Daryl Davis, a black man who befriends members of the KKK and convinces them to leave. The man has convinced over 200 people to leave the KKK, and Antifa were there throwing bricks and bottles at us, calling us all white supremacists and saying it was a white supremacist event. The current Antifa is fucking retarded, right? There's a lot of people that are in it just for the violence.
Okay, I don't disagree, and I do criticize, as somebody who used to be involved in Antifa, unless Trump cries them a terrorist group, in which case I'm just joking right now. As someone who used to be, I can tell you that the quality of the engagement definitely varies from group to group, city to city. And I don't disagree with that. And I do criticize the optics of Antifa pretty often on this channel. I don't know if they do the best job of doing what they're trying to do, though I generally agree with the sentiment.
What would be an example of bad optics from Antifa in your mind, Fox?
Well, all I care about is
bad actions, or
all I care about is preserving a good society. I'm a consequentialist. If I thought that Antifa running out into the street and beating the ever-loving shit out of everyone with a MAGA hat made society better, I would support it. But I don't think that. I think that in addition to causing suffering to people who are probably too stupid to know that they shouldn't be wearing a MAGA hat or believing in Trump to begin with, it also does a lot to make our optics look really fucking bad. It makes us look fucking terrible when that happens. The fact that Antifa these days, like the Antifa boys will like go out there and they'll fucking rough up like the streets and throw bricks through windows and turn over trash cans. Now, do they do that often? Not nearly as often as people on the internet pretend, but they do it, and it gets filmed, sometimes by themselves. They're real proud of it. They upload it and makes them look fucking awful. They look like a bunch of college sophomores, like anemic college sophomores dressed up in like their dad's like old like biker gear, you know? What I would ideally like to see, if we want real counter-protesting being done against fascist groups, I don't want these people in the fucking black bloc because I don't want them to distinguish themselves. Organize a greater proletarian counter-protest, get people together, wear your fucking mom jeans, wear your fucking sun hats, go out there and just scream at a distance and don't physically engage. That way, if the fascists do physically engage with you, they look like monsters. But if you're Antifa with a fucking nail bat, dressed up to the nines in black, and you get attacked by somebody who's got a fucking swastika armband, the media is going to look at that and think like, oh, they're both the same. We've got a crazy fighting a crazy. They need to look like they're fighting civilians, and likewise, we need to normalize civilians fighting against fascism. That'd be my argument.
It's called Hearts and Minds.
Hearts and Minds. Yeah, we need to normalize anti-fascism. Should be like a community theater event. Okay, we all get together.
That's the thing is, right. See people turning up and holding signs. Fine, even when it's me that's getting protested, I like that because that is the sign of a healthy society where people are able to go out and actually protest. Right, I've had events where I've went out and I've spoken to the protesters, and we actually had a friendly back and forth. It was all very friendly, right? See if I stop seeing protesters, I'm going to be really fucking worried, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's like healthy civic society. You need those protesters. Like that's how you know things are going right.
One thing that I actually had a concern about for a long time, and I felt it was coming, and I think it might come, is see how whenever there was huge fights, it happened in America a lot where the police were told to pull back and just let everybody fucking duke it out. Everybody was like just not beating the absolute fucking shit out of each other. I felt, it sounds a little bit tinfoil, I felt that was being allowed to happen to turn everyone against the very idea of protest so that the government would have an easier time of taking protest away because it's just not safe. It's just not safe. It puts people at risk. It puts people at danger. And I worried for a while. the government would fucking love to take protest away. I don't know what I'm talking about. They absolutely would.
Oh, of course,
love it.
yeah, they do. But like to me, it's so much easier when everyone involved in them looks like a fucking lunatic. When I think of like a fascist, now I obviously, as a sociology major, like I recognize that everyone is just a product of our circumstances, and even people whose beliefs are abhorrent are human beings who were just misled by various circumstances, blah blah. However, when I think of like a fascist protest, when I think of like the Proud Boys or like Charlottesville or whatever, you know, and I see the way they're dressed up to the nines, I think a lot of these people are pretty fucking.
Proud Boys are not fascist.
All right, we can get to that. Okay, we'll save that for debate number 2. Fine. When we're talking about the fasci protests or whatever, like I want everyone to look at them and despise them, like in the media when the cameras are on them. That happened at Charlottesville, which is why Richard Spencer got so mad. But I want that to happen across the board. But the problem is, it's very difficult to do that when people think that like Antifa and fascists are some sort of mirrored reflection of one another. That it's just like crazy battles popping up in like city streets, and it doesn't have anything to do with the average person. So I guess like my main issue, I guess if I had to like fix Antifa, I would want it to be like local networks of mutual aid that organize people to protest. But when you protest, just fucking go out there and protest. I don't think that you actually do anything to stop fascism by running over there and trying to intimidate them, especially since a lot of fascist protesters carry guns. I'd like it if people didn't die, if at all possible. If you want to carry guns, that's your legal right, of course, but then you have to recognize that for many people, you're going to look less sympathetic for the cameras. It's tough, you know? I don't know. It's a really complicated conversation, I think.
That's the thing, is like, see, when it comes to, because one thing is, there was an event that happened like on our side, and it was people, this is back when I was in UKIP, and it was people that were in UKIP that actually did this. There was a socialist bookstore that was, which I think is pretty fucking niche. They sold like only socialist material. That was all they sold. And there was a demonstration that was happening in London. The people there seen this socialist bookstore, ran in, started screaming at the staff, started destroying the shop and shit like that. And basically those people, the ones that were in UKIP, just got kicked out the party fucking immediately, because shit like that is fucking stupid. I don't agree with socialism, but if that person owns that property and wants to run a socialist bookstore, that absolutely is their right to do so. Like, just because
don't worry, comrade, we'll get you soon. You'll have no choice but to approve of us. Okay.
I'm a socialist in recovery.
Wait, hold on. Holy shit, we are nearly 2 hours into this. I was going to cover something else. Do we want to go into super chats, or if you want to set that up?
Yeah,
I am literally dying to pee right now. So if I could run really quickly.
Let's go into super chats now.
Cool. I'll be right back, guys. Fucking donate, okay? It's for all the fucking kids dying of COVID-19. You heartless fucking bastards. All right.
And basically what I'll do is, so how much does YouTube take? It takes like what, like 20% or something?
A third. It takes 33%.
Okay, so I'll factor out that, and then I'll just donate to the COVID charity, and I'll get receipts from Vosh's donations, and I'll get receipts from mine, and those will all be posted onto the Twitter. So if you're concerned about that, just look out for that for my Twitter. So let's go ahead and.
Can I just? I'm just going to like quickly get a drink. I'll be back.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I'll just hang on with chat here.
Okay, over in.
Okay, we might have to fix their video when they come back. Yeah, so guys, thanks for everybody that's watching. I hope this has been interesting for you. So we run a Discord server where we try to facilitate conversations like these and try to keep them fair. We support free speech, just as long as everybody's civil. Also, I'm going to be doing a podcast on this channel. We're going to be interviewing a lot of experts. We did an interview with a cult expert, Stephen Hassan, so you can go check that out. I also have an interview with Alexander Reed Ross, who is an expert on disinformation and fascism. That's going to be coming out. What else? I did a series. I'm doing a series of videos where I went to New Zealand and I met with the victims of the Christchurch shooting. So that's going to be coming out, and eventually there's going to be a documentary coming out on that. So let's go ahead and pull up. What did you guys think about the debate or the conversation or whatever?
Sorry, the Peddling Cat. Oh yeah, I'm on multiple live streams right now. Hello. I got this shirt at Anime Expo last year. If you want to get it, you can type !sneakers into my chat.
Oh, that's fun. Oh yeah, so people are saying base Tarrant, Christchurch was hilarious.
Okay,
I'll
I'm
give
back.
you
Hello.
a funny story about that. Hey Vosh, I'm just going to give them a story about Christchurch real quick. So at Christchurch, at the second shooting, Tarrant ran away. He got chased out by a guy with a POS machine and an unloaded shotgun, and he ran like a bitch. So to anybody that thinks base Tarrant, the dude's a fucking coward. The minute he got met with opposition, he ran the opposite direction. So just think about that if he is your hero. Anyway, let's get straight into super chats here. I'm just going to read anything that's at the $5 mark. I'm going to read them unless there is
I love questions. Hit me up.
Yeah. So some of these are statements, but I'm going to read them all off. Dankula and Voss should join forces and form the Nazbol Empire. What do you guys feel about forming a Nazbol Empire?
Hey, listen. Okay, I'm very principled. I had a big Nazbol debate just 2 nights ago. Okay, I'm very firmly, my feet are planted here in libertarian socialism, but I'll try to bring people over if I can.
Awesome. So this debate basically started with Voss, the brainlet, toxified the entire debate and saying he won't believe anything Mark says because reasons. Do you want to respond to that, Voss? I just want to address this, okay? I don't trust anyone online because we all have monetary incentives to avoid being honest about our positions. If we believe something that is too spicy or that our audience wouldn't like, we lie about it. A lot of people do. I don't even think it's a moral point. It's just something you have to do. So my concern is just, I just want to try and like get at people's underlying actions. And for what it's worth, for my conversation with Count Dankula, while I still disagree probably with a fuckload of things that he believes, I'm pretty confident that his behavior isn't motivated by like some underlying like nefarious intent, which is a lot more that I can say about a lot of people. I didn't expect to come out feeling that way, and I'm very happy with how this discussion went. So do you feel like Count Dankula is a white supremacist at the end of this?
I mean, you can't inductively know. No, I mean, I don't, we all have racial biases. I think it's fairly likely that Count Dankula has a number of biases that inform his humor, but I would say that of literally anyone except for the wokest fucking people around, I own up to biases myself. So how much of that bias is informing people's behavior versus how much of it is completely apolitical edgelord stuff, I don't really know. It's impossible for me to know. All I can know is that I'm much happier with this convo than I expected to be, so I probably wouldn't like call him out like for a white supremacist. Maybe like an edgelord who like cultivates an audience of white supremacists, but even then like we'd have to go back and have that conversation, which would be a really annoying conversation to have.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next super chat unless Dankula wants to respond to that. So this debate, so is this debate basically about how much you can joke about a certain thing before people can assume you believe in said things? Dankula, do you want to respond to that one? Voss, respond to the last couple.
I think in regards to it, I think when it comes to comedy, you can joke about absolutely anything and everything. Like, sometimes you can do it just because you want to make people laugh. Sometimes you do it just because it works as a little bit of a coping mechanism as well. Like, when I thought I was going to jail, I made fucking jokes about it all the time, and like people laughed, but internally I was kind of going like, I may go to fucking jail here. But like, yeah, as for, you know, how far can you go until, you know, it starts to actually cause like massive problems in society? Well, people fucking joked about like really, really horrendous fucking shit all the way through the fucking 90s and early 2000s. I mean, fucking, this is the generation that was raised on South Park and everything as well, and it's just weird how the generation that was raised on South Park and Family Guy has sort of done a bit of a 180 on stuff like that. I don't like excluding people from jokes either. I think that if you say, oh, there is X group of people that you are not allowed to joke about, then you're kind of othering them. You're excluding them from this like very, very widely used social norm that we all have with each other. So that's why I don't like excluding people from jokes.
I just want to say I've joked. Oh, sorry. Please, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I joke about different groups of people all the time on my stream. I've joked about transgender people. I've joked about black people. I've joked about Jews. Oh boy, have I done all of those things, as the rest of the left knows and will know forever. But when I think that at the end of the day, jokes are a form of communication, and sometimes they can sort of reinforce underlying beliefs. I think that we should be able to make jokes about anything, literally anything. I would defend that to my dying breath. And I hate that there are some lefties who are legitimately like humorless fucking bad words. But With that being said, I think that just like any other form of communication, there's scrutiny. I would even scrutinize some people's body language. Like, what's the old adage? Like, you walk into a room and you're white, and there's two people in front of you. One of them's a CEO, and one of them's like a common worker. And you shake hands with the white guy in overalls over the black guy in a suit, like first, even though you're supposed to shake hands with the CEO first. Like, even though that doesn't belie any actual intent and any actual like bias inherently, I think it's something that could be looked at with scrutiny. I just encourage people to be very conscientious about the things that they do. It's just part of what I was taught in my schooling.
Can I ask you a personal question, Vosh?
Yeah, hit me up.
How do you feel about transsexuals in general?
I think they're pretty goddamn cool. I guess I've always had a bit of a transhumanist streak to me. The idea that we're breaking down all of these long form like social conventions to allow people to live lives more authentically, and the fact that we're developing medical technology to push people in the direction like that they can without much interference, I think that's pretty fucking cool. I'm pretty comfortable in my gender identity, but I guess I just like a world where people can be whatever they want to be.
Fair enough. Fair enough, that's fine.
Danko, I have a question for you if you don't mind.
Go for it.
If you ever felt like you did have a disproportionate number of, say, whatever, disfavorable group in your audience, let's just say Nazis, all right, let's just say Nazis, would you start to like, do you have some sort of measure that you take to like, would you start dunking on them more, or do you have some like correction method for your own audience?
When it comes to like dunking, I don't feel that really helps a person listen to you. I mean, if I walk into a room and walk up to you and go like that, hey, you're a complete fucking stupid retard, let me tell you why you're wrong. You're not going to have an interest in anything that I've got to say to you. Like, I'm not going to change your mind by me coming in there like that. You've already put a wall up and you're not interested in anything that I've got to say. Whereas if you actually just like sit down with people and you're friendly with them and you have a nice chat with them, then you get further like that. Because a lot of people seem to think that we've had Nazis like come into the Discord and stuff like that, and everybody just sort of laughs at them. But like a part of me is just sort of like, no, like talk to them, tell them, let them know and let them see that freedom is absolutely fucking baller. Because I don't like excluding people from society, because the amount of like people that I've spoken to in the far right, where I'm sort of holding the hand out, going come back to the light type of thing, they know that in this modern age, like Nazism is like that shit that just doesn't wash off. They feel that the only social group they have is their other group of Nazis, and they go, well, if I leave, society doesn't want me back, and not only have I lost my only social connection that I've got right now, but I'll have nothing. Like, so that's what a lot of them are worried about. But I'm always like, come back to the light. It's fine. We'll be here for you. And some have, some actually have, some sadly haven't.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting to say that. I mean, that's so like studies show that basically humor and dehumanization and like a humiliation that can work to keep people from going into something, because they're like, well, fuck that. I don't want to be part of those idiots. Like think like characterizing the KKK as drunk rednecks, right? Keeps a lot of people from wanting to join that group. But for sure, what you're saying about like, someone's in it, humiliation actually does push them the other direction. And that's like kind of what I've tried to do with my whole Discord.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
It's a line. It's a hard line to walk, though.
People think that I just make spicy jokes and stuff like that. Like, I've got a video and people can see it on my channel where I was ripping on. I did like an entire bit about fascism and how basically like I think that anyone this is left or right that wants a system where the government has absolute power is just voting to get themselves fucked over. Like they are literally becoming the turkey that votes for Christmas. I voted for this government, so I'll be fine. Like, no, you won't. No, you won't.
Vosh, be real quick, because I do want to get to these super
Yeah,
chats.
sure. I just want to like, I'm looking through your chat section right now and your thing, and I know these are Count Dankula fans because of the general disposition. But there are people here like, men can't have periods. You've never met a real Nazi from Concerned Englander. Kill all leftists. This is, I guess, the thing that I really worry about isn't like necessarily you. It's I think there are a lot of like legitimately fucking bigoted people who follow you, and it's really like strange to me that I guess we can just accept that and say that's okay because the actual things you say are jokes. Yeah. Also, somebody here said I need to wash my hair. I wash my hair every day. I don't know what you're talking about. Now they're saying it's jokes. I see.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the super chats, and let's just try to keep the answers short because I'm sure you guys probably want to hop off of here soon. Unless you have more time, then that's okay.
I got a few more minutes. I just think it's interesting to me that a lot of these people seem to believe that I've committed a social faux pas by asking the question of whether or not people are racist and encouraging people to examine the answers to that question. I think introspection is a pretty important part of being intellectual, like at all. If you're not comfortable with it, I would encourage you can like stick back in babyland where like nobody ever questions your beliefs and you just sit there and circle jerk in your safe space where nobody challenges you. If that's what you prefer, like that's totally okay. I can get you like, I don't know, with some of the money that going to COVID, some of it can be donated to you. You can get like a binky. I don't know. It's very strange to me.
Okay.
Sorry, you can continue. I'm done.
Tavash, Māori are the indigenous people of New Zealand and have been there for 750 years. Are Celts indigenous to Scotland, having been documented there two millennia? So I think you get the gist of what they're asking.
Sure, I don't know much about the anthropology of Celts. Maybe? Sure. Yeah, like wouldn't like Gaelic people be indigenous to the Isles? Like, right?
No,
I think.
The way it worked is like the original Celts, except they were called the Gaels, which came from the Roman Gaul. They were a subset of people that lived around like the Austrian mountains, and basically they mined salt. I'm still keeping up the modern tradition. And they traded it down to the Mediterranean and all along the Mediterranean, you know, around Italy, around Spain, all the way up to France. But then they managed to find the British Isles, and what they did was they established settlements there. They colonised all of Ireland, Wales, and then the north of Scotland. But in Scotland, there was still the Picts. And the Gaels had the western side of Scotland, the Picts had the east, and then they all fucked each other and created the Celts. And that was.
Hey, that sounds great. We got some ethnic intermixing. My favorite thing in the world. Yeah.
I think what the question's getting at is it's asking basic. So I was just in New Zealand. There's like a ton of concessions made by the government to the Māori because they're indigenous. There's a ton of platforming. You know, basically, like they make sure that they have like a tradition, like their tradition is very visible in the country. So I think that what the person is kind of alluding to is they're setting you up for a question. Well, if you think that they should do that for the Māori, shouldn't they do that for Celts?
Are
then I'm
Celts,
sure they would extend that out.
Are Celts like marginalized in Scotland or Ireland?
The Gaelic language is like by a big margin. Like for example, because they think only 1.6%, I believe, is Scottish people are Gaelic speakers, whereas I think it's about 3% speak Urdu. But there's more social programs to learn Urdu than there is Gaelic.
I think it's the responsibility of the government to protect people who need protection from the society in which they live, whether that be because they're indigenous or otherwise marginalized. I don't know the specific histories of every single indigenous group at all, and I won't pretend to. If there are Gaelic or Celtic people who are being like maligned culturally, then I think it's appropriate for the government to respond effectively to that. But yeah, like at the end of the day, all cultures change and fade. That will inevitably happen to all cultures, no matter their color or creed. So I'm not okay with people preventing that from happening with policy. I am okay with people preventing outward acts of discrimination against like indigenous groups. Indigenous people aren't just like in the country and they want to keep doing their thing and like people don't like their thing as much. They were invaded and colonized. So there's a very different socio-political context. Now the Irish have also been invaded and colonized, so I think you could hear pretty good arguments like to that as well.
Oh no, so were we, you know.
Yeah, Scots. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you guys. When the Danes came in, I've watched Vinland Saga. I'm up on my 10th century European history.
A lot of people seem to get really, really shocked that Scotland actually still has religiously segregated schools. We've got schools like just for Catholics, and we've got schools just for Protestants.
It seems pretty dumb to me. Hopefully that's not a long-term thing.
Trust me, it's to avoid violence. This is something that's went back fast.
Hey, you know them Catholics, baby. Real violent people. Very spooky.
So by the way, guys, I'm only going to read the questions, and I'm only going to read the good faith questions. So the troll questions I'm going to filter out just for time.
No, keep the troll questions.
I'll
then.
keep some of them, but some of these are like a little ridiculous.
Yeah, the queue is very long for it.
Are the worst ones all directed against me?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Dank, do you believe in a Tibetan ethno-state? That's from Turbo.
Tibetan ethno-state. Do I think that Tibet should be its own independent country again? Yes. Yes. Fuck China.
Dead Horse says Sargon said he talked to Vosh again like 2 days ago. Then what else we got here?
Wait, I talked
Someone
to
says,
Sargon?
"What is worse?" Sargon, he must have mentioned something on his stream or something.
Oh yeah, okay. He was malding about me a few days ago. Sorry.
Yeah. What is worse, thought crimes or thought crimes?
Let me guess. Is one of those thoughts spelled THOT?
It may or may not be. Yes.
Yes, it is. Thoughts are a scourge on humanity. They are a blight on our society.
I think that the act of thinking is morally wrong, and I think it would be better if we were all just bimbos wandering the wastes. So I believe thought THOUGHT crimes are abhorrent, and thought THOT crimes are valid and based and epic.
Vosh, do you think that the Young Turks are responsible for the 2 mass shooters that were regular viewers of theirs?
Which shooters? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know every news story. So here would be my guess. Okay.
I'm guessing one of them is probably the Dayton. Ohio.
Yeah, here would be my guess, okay? It's not enough that a person be a fan of another for their shooting to be attributed to that media source. They have to be inspired by it. So for example, if a white person went and did a mass shooting and they were also racist or on pol or something, but the shooting was just like a shooting, I don't think I would call that a white supremacist act of terror. But if they scrawled, say for example, swastikas on the magazines of their AR before heading in, and they were screaming like on pol beforehand about how they were going to kill all the degenerate race mixers or something, then I would argue that it was inspired by pol. So with the people who did those shootings, were they like, yeah, I love Hassan, he's so fucking hot, like, or were they just watching TYT and also they did a mass shooting? You know, I don't really know. I'd have to look into it. I could be wrong. I don't know the details of the. Hassan is pretty.
I think the Christchurch shooter wasn't a pol; it was a 8chan.
Yeah, 8chan is like fucking 10 times as bad as pol. Holy fuck! All the child porn shit they go over there. Crazy motherfuckers.
I've never been on 8chan. I've just heard stories.
Okay. Is that all?
Why does everyone have so much of a problem with how much I smoke? I'm here for a good time.
You've got a lot of comments on your cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm not restricting your individual liberty to inhale dank cotton.
No, it's just everyone in the chat. Like the biggest criticism I've seen of me so far is everyone like, Jesus Christ, how much is he smoking? I smoke a lot.
It is a lot, but you know they could compliment you on your fortitude. Takes strength. I've got like a glass lung. When I smoke, like any hit that's not like tiny is always going to send me into a coughing fit.
Do you not even smoke weed?
Nah, just weed. I don't smoke cigarettes.
Oh, just weed. Oh, right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do people still smoke? Is that like a normal thing to do over in the UK still?
Oh yeah, tons of people smoke. A lot of people smoke. They keep driving up the tax on cigarettes to make it harder for people to buy them, but people still buy them.
First and last Kappa donated $20. Thank you for that. Hey guys, big fan of the both of yous. If I may say, Dankula, I think your best video you have put out was your Killdozer video. I feel like you and Vosh would surely agree that we need to weed out the corrupt. Is this true? Jesus Christ. We do not condone violence on the Faraday stream, by the way. I just want to point that out. But
I'm a free marketplace of ideas kind of guy over
We've
here.
already had to ban 3 people for that, so.
yeah.
A lot of angry people following you around, Count. Jeez. Getting worried.
Well, they said they're a fan of you too, Vosh.
Ooh, wait, no. Uh-oh. Hold on.
Do you condone the Killdozer?
I don't know what the Killdozer is. It sounds spooky.
You've never heard of the Killdozer?
I've heard the name. I've heard the name. I don't know what it is.
Count, can you give us like a 2-minute summary?
There was a man with a muffler shop, and all he wanted to do was own his muffler shop. But then the state zoned the area next to him that had the path that led to his muffler shop with a cement plant, but it also had his water, electricity, and sewer line connected in it, and they dug it up and totally cut the guy's. Not only was his muffler shop cut off from the street, you couldn't drive to it, but they also cut off his sewer and electrical, and he kept appealing to the government for help, and they were like, no, go fuck yourself. And then one day he just decided, fuck it, made a gigantic armored bulldozer, essentially a tank, and went around destroying the businesses and private property of everyone in the town who had wronged him. And yeah, it's a nice story of how you can only shit on a man so much.
As a libertarian socialist, I have no choice whatsoever but to wholeheartedly endorse. No, I don't fucking know.
Some libertarians see fucking Marvin Heemeyer as the patron saint of libertarianism. Like, honestly.
Yeah, he's pretty big in libertarian circles. I'm going to go into the next question, but Dankula, are you ever going to do a Mad Lads on the Hollywood shootout?
I've heard about this. Was it bank robbers? Yeah.
Yeah, it was bank robbers.
I've been asked to do those guys. I've also been asked to do the Battle of Athens or something like that. But the Hollywood shootout is something that I'm going to look at. Yeah. I didn't say I would do a Mad Lad. I said I'd look.
You'd look into it. Okay. If Gales, so Rugal, to follow up with his Mahdi question, the Vosh, he said if Gales had exactly the same type of preservation programs that the Mahdi had, then he'd be happy, but they're white, so intersectionalists would never be on board.
Wait. Horse shit. So many times people try to do this, like, oh, only SJW hypocrisy is keeping the white people from being protected. No, that's not true. I would need to look specifically at like the dichotomies here to understand exactly what's going on. But I would be willing to bet that the legacy of colonialism in those countries, respectively, probably mean that the way in which the Celts are being mistreated is not comparable to the way in which the indigenous people of whatever the other country was are being mistreated. I would be willing to bet that's just not the case. It has nothing to do with them being white. There are plenty of white people who have been protected, like have gotten protected classes before as well.
Yeah. By the way, Rugal, it's not pronounced Maori, it's Mahdi. That's how it's pronounced.
We've got some like weird protections as well. For example, there are certain songs about us that people aren't allowed to sing. Like if you sing this song in front of a police officer, he'll arrest you.
I don't know what your fucked up free speech laws are over there. I live in the God blessed United States of America, where I can go up to a cop and scream at him and he can't do shit. Except he usually does, but legally he shouldn't be able to.
I know that we've got a law here where if you even swear in front of a police officer, even if it's to your friend, it's called a Section 5 public order offence, and you could be arrested for that.
Well, hey, listen, we'll come and we'll liberate you all soon, okay? Once we're done with the Middle East, we're going to come over to Bongerland, and we're going to free you from the yoke of your oppressive monarchy.
We have oil.
Make it even better.
Okay, so very dead horse rephrase. First of all, someone asked if you've seen Dankula's Big PP. I have to get that one in. They donated $5.
I have not seen Dankula's Big PP. I'm sure it's wonderful, and I have no preemptive criticisms of it.
Okay. Very dead horse says, let me rephrase. If a TYT viewer shot up a baseball field full of Republicans because of evil or racist, according to TYT, or maybe Antifa shooting up an ICE facility. So that's the two individuals he's referring to.
Oh, wait. So the person shot up a bunch of Republicans?
So there was a person that went onto a Republican it was a bunch of congressmen, and they were Republicans. They were having a baseball game or a softball game. The guy showed up with a rifle and shot at a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're referring to there. And then they're referring to the guy who shot up an ICE.
For the first one, okay, I feel really uncomfortable talking about these because every single time like people try to do this stuff with me, like they end up lying. So my general guess would be that there was some sort of ulterior incident here that made this not as parallel as like the Christchurch incident. The ICE thing, I think, is like it's an ulterior political thing. Are we talking about that one guy who just firebombed a door before like dying? I don't know if I would count that as being like a TYT inspired like attack. As for the baseball game thing, I'm not actually familiar with the details of that, but I'd be willing to bet there was probably some ulterior thing. But I'll bite it, by the way. If it was found, or if it was believed that it was through the content of TYT that that person was inspired to do what he did, then yeah, I would say it was like a TYT or like broadly a left inspired attack. I'd be willing to say that.
Okay. Pyra says, I went to live in a world where Nazis and communists had no chance of getting into power, yet freely expressed their horrific ideas.
Yes. Yes.
Vosh, do you think, and by the way, if you guys need to hop off here, please cut me
I've got a
off.
little bit more time.
Vosh, do you think the left/socialist people using Soviet iconography like red stars, sickle, and hammer, calling each other comrade is bad PR and ultimately scares people away from your cause?
Yes. Jesus Christ. Yes. Holy fuck. So tired of these people. Even if they're not tankies, we just have to accept the fact that the average person, the legacy of Soviet socialism is not exactly an appealing bid for them to join our cause. It's just not. There's no fucking random American, some blue-collar worker who's thinking like, man, you know, boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I shit my pants on the Amazon warehouse floor because they don't give us bathroom breaks. And then someone walks over to them with a fucking Yushchenko saying like, hey, hello, greetings, comrade. Like they're faking an accent or something like, oh, yes, here, look at this pamphlet right here. You see red star, we can fix you. Fix problems. Like they're not going like no. We need to reach people out to people with language they understand, language they sympathize with. Bernie Sanders was very good at doing this. That's why it's so much fun that there are a bunch of super woke lefties on Twitter who are canceling Bernie now because he ended up being too politically efficacious, and that's not good enough for them. So yeah.
What does Dank think about the new SNP hate crime bill?
That's absolute fucking trash garbage. The law itself is absolutely nothing about equality because it was getting. We actually had a guy go and sit in at the meeting, and every single person that was there was basically advocacy groups where it's like, we listened to the people of Scotland. No, you listened to like 20, 30 people, all of whom had an agenda. A lot of them were feminist groups who, when the bill was proposed, the misogyny and misandry was in it. The language was basically, if you say anything, you know, to any sex, then that is a crime. And they said, no, we want it to be just misogyny. And the SNP buckled and gave them that.
It's because they're fucking turfs. Fuck them.
Well, that's the thing is they turned around and said, this law is about equality. And it's like, no, this law literally enforces inequality.
Unironically, you need to kick the fucking turfs off your goddamn islands. They're the feminists who are responsible for all this whole shit double standard bullshit. Like, they're the ones who are like the derivatives of second wave feminism who believe that all the differences between men and women flow downstream of fundamental biological differences. They're the ones who are the reason why rape is when you penetrate another, so you can't rape a man as a cisgender woman. They're the reason for that fucking bill. They're like a cancer in your fucking collection of islands. I have no idea why you guys export so much of that. Oil, Jesus Christ. We could get, you were talking about salt mines earlier. If we could somehow harness the fucking salt that your turf brigades experience when they go online and see a trans woman on Twitter, like I think we'd be able to keep the entire like country satisfied for the rest of time. It's incredible. Yeah, we'll fix that.
I've no idea why these people hate trans people so much. I mean, they suck the best dick. I'm telling you, man.
Thank you for turning a sincere advocacy into a joke.
Yeah,
it's true, though. It's true. My audience is agreeing with you, though.
Like no other. Like, honestly, women treat your dick like it's a chore. Transsexual women treat your dick like it's their god.
So
my part of my audience appreciates the advocacy, and we'll stick to the positive side.
This question is for both Dankula and Vosh. What do you like best about Michael Malice? I don't even know if y'all know who that is.
Dankula, you go first while I don't Google.
I've appeared on his show before. He's brilliant. I like Michael Malice. Me and him just sat and like chatted and shot the shit a little bit. I really like him.
Was Alex Jones as insane as in private as he is in public?
It's so weird. It's like he'll sit there and he'll just talk to you like absolutely normally. He still talks about the same stuff, but he talks about it like in the same way I'm talking to you now. But then as soon as a camera's pointed at him, he just fucking goes mental and everything. But I like him. I think he's really nice. My best memory is when me and Sargon were actually in his truck. I'm calling it a truck. It's technically a fucking tank. And he was driving us, and we were just driving, and it was like 5 minutes to just silence, like nobody was talking. And just Alex Jones, just like out of nowhere, just goes, "We're going to beat the globalists." And me and Sargon were like, okay. Like, it just came from nowhere, just 5 minutes. You ever seen that meme?
The forehead veins, right?
Alex Jones, yeah, it's just out of nowhere, and we just turned around to him like, okay, man, like
The frogs.
nobody's said
Yeah, like it's like constantly. This is a headache if he doesn't say it.
It is my absolute dream to go. First of all, is his studio actually in a bunker, or is that just a rumor?
I have no comment to make on.
He signed an NDA.
I didn't sign an NDA. He didn't make me sign an NDA at all. But it is an extremely secure location with a lot of armed gentlemen. So.
Oh my god!
I really hope one day I can talk to Alex Jones. I feel like if I give him the right drugs and talk to him for long enough, I can make him a libertarian socialist. I feel like it's possible, you know.
It's my absolute dream to go eat steak and get Alex Jones whiskey drunk. So if you come back to the States, Dankula, let me know.
He's given up drinking.
Oh,
yeah, he was. Yeah, I was looking so forward to getting fucking drunk with him, but he'd said, "Oh, I gave up drinking. I haven't drunk anything in 6 weeks." And I was like, "Oh, I got to eat a steak with him."
He wants to have a clean kidney in case his daughter ever has to eat it.
I will eat your ass.
I love him.
Can I just say, I know that people hate him, and I know that he's done some like shit in the past, man. I find it so hard to dislike Alex Jones. I like him so much just for the fucking shit he says, and I will say, like, after having met the guy, about like 80% of him like is an act. 80% of them like as a complete act.
He is very difficult to dislike. I feel like in a better world, when he had maybe slightly less brainworms, he would actually be one of the most effective political orators like of our generation. Unironically,
yeah. Well, he kind of was before, you know.
Yeah. He the Sandy Hook. If he had like not crossed the line on the Sandy Hook stuff, I think that he would have had like his upward march. Like it would have been incredible. I think. But after that, I feel like he's always going to be like relegated to niche stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing is as well. People are saying like, oh, he's pro-Trump, he's pro-Trump. See, like in his entire history, this has been like the first president he has been in favor of. He was constantly railing against Clinton. He was constantly railing against both of the Bushes. He was constantly railing against Obama. And other than Trump's been like the only president that like he's had nice things to say about. I think that's fed into it a little bit.
It's really dumb. I don't know. Yeah, fucking Trump. Re-up the Patriot Act, foreign wars, complete fucking shill to corporations, tried to cut down on freedom of speech, tightening libel laws. I don't know. I don't know, because he's like based an anti-globalist or something, even though he's 100% globalist and he just had a useless fucking tariff war with China. I don't know. I've got to go soon. Do we want to hit us with like 2 more super chats?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Look, if anybody wants to donate for Vosh, go ahead. I'm gonna ask 2 to Dank, and then we'll close it out here.
Yeah, I've talked more than Dank has during the fucking super chats here.
And then we'll have like I'll have a little closing thing. So, Dank, should free speech still have a reckless clause, such as what you were charged under, or no?
No, the reckless part of it, I don't believe, and there are parts of it there are parts where I feel warrant more discussion, and the term for it is a hell of a mouthful. It's basically malicious misinformation with the intent to trick a vulnerable person into causing themselves bodily harm. So say, for example, if I said to Vosh, bleach is delicious, you should go drink some. If you go and drink bleach, you should have known better, right? That's on you. But if I say to like a 5-year-old child, bleach is delicious, go drink some, I've given that child malicious information to trick the child into seriously injuring or killing themselves. So that's an area, like, and there's also other stuff as well. Is like I don't see, whenever it comes to protected classes, I don't think there should be protected classes based on race, gender, sexual identity, or like anything like that. The only 2 people that I feel should be protected classes would be children and basically people who are mentally infirm, basically people that don't have all the faculties, because they are the ones that can be exploited because they don't have enough cognitive development to know that basically people are exploiting them. Although I say that there's been some shady cases with that here. Like, say for example, we had a court here in Britain literally ban a man from having sex because his IQ wasn't high enough. Like, seriously, that's
I'm not familiar with the specifics. I think that protected classes are a necessary component of a free society. Inevitably, if you don't have them, then the majority power holders are going to leverage their power politically, socially, economically to disenfranchise others, which is a limit on their positive freedom. I don't think that a society where like all the wealthy white business owners can prevent black people from shopping at their places is a very good society. Yeah, I guess the ideal, like long term, would be to build a society where you don't need to have protected classes. Of course, you don't want to have, you don't like, obviously stuff like kids would be forever, but like you don't. At the end of the day, like it shouldn't be necessary because it's only there to prevent people from engaging in existing, like social prejudices.
Yeah, I'll ask one more question for Dank, and then we'll just have a little closing thing. For Dank, wasn't Tony Blair the only good example of socialism because it was more conservative? LOL.
Fuck Tony Blair.
Known socialist Tony Blair.
For dragging us into two bullshit fucking wars. Fuck Tony Blair.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Okay, so guys, I had fun with this. I thought it was actually a bit more productive than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, me too. Fuck.
I have, I don't know how Dank feels, but I have kind of an ulterior motive in these things. Is that I'm very fed up with the state of discourse online. I fucking hate blood sports. Fuck Andy Worski. Fuck all those people that pioneered that bullshit. Fuck people that engage in that bullshit. Like dialogue is really fucked right now, and really bad actors are taking advantage of that. So, yeah, I'm glad that it turned out the way that it did.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any closing statements, Vosh, do you feel like he's a white supremacist? I'm going to ask again.
What do I feel like? Do I feel like he's a white? No. I'm thinking. Wait. It's a really complicated. It's a really complicated.
I'm asking you what you feel personally at the end of this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I'm thinking because there were like different tiers of engagement here. Do I think he's a white supremacist in the way that I made the accusation on stream? No. Do I think it's possible there are subliminal biases that are informing his decision making? Yes. Does that affect everyone? Yes. I never want to completely absolve a person of the potential for engaging in racial bias because I think that's something we all do to an extent. But for what it's worth, I think this was an infinitely more productive conversation than I originally expected to have, and you are also an infinitely more reasonable person than I expected you to be. So I appreciate you talking to me, and while I understand that my engagement online is often very contentious, that is, I guess, literally my job, I do, at least, I think, to try to engage with the things that people actually believe in, and I think it makes me look bad when I just outright like disregard the capacity for like a positive conversation. I appreciate you speaking with me. I appreciate you taking the time. Also, my chat has been doing a bingo on this convo the entire time, and they would like you to say trans rights.
Everyone always asks me to say that, but I don't like the idea that rights should be segregated between particular groups. I feel that rights should be a universal thing. Do trans people deserve rights? Obviously, they absolutely do, because they are part of everyone else, and everyone deserves rights. I just don't like segregating rights with certain groups.
Can we get trans rights and cisgender rights? That way we're rounding out the edges.
Universal rights. Yeah. Everybody gets them.
All right, I'll take it. All right, cis rights too, just so we're rounding out.
Thank you. I'll let you have the last statement, and then we'll end it.
I don't have much else to say after this experience. I was a lot more productive than I thought it would be. I'm hoping that a lot of people out there now understand my actual political persuasion instead of just, from screenshots of tweets that they sent. I found this conversation to be very productive. I hope I have changed a lot of minds. And I just want to finish with saying, we must secure the existence of...
No, stop. Don't make me take it down.
White children.
No.
Censorship strikes yet again.
On that video.
Just another white man advocating for his rights getting taken down. By the far left censors.
Hey, boss, you want to close it out with the Soviet anthem or something while we're rolling here?
Fuck the Soviet Union. I sing the fucking American Pledge of Allegiance, okay? No. At the end of the day, conversations are important, and I would like to believe that fundamentally most people online, even if we have different political persuasions, agree in the same basic things. Most people want happiness. Most people want freedom. Not everyone, but most people. I think a lot of people are misguided in how to get there, but I consider it my job to try and provide at least some alternative ideas as to the ways we can best achieve those outcomes. Hopefully people listen to me. Often they don't, but it doesn't really matter because I had a good conversation, and that's what matters right now.
Awesome. Guys, please go hit subscribe on my channel. We're going to be doing more debates in the future, as well as interviews with experts on various topics, and also swing by the Discord server where we have attempt to have productive conversations on the daily. So thank you all for watching. This has been great. Faraday out.
Oh, wait, how much did you get, donor-wise?
I'm going to have to go through it and add it all up.
Oh, okay.
I will contact you after this because I want to know what you got on your stream.
Yeah, I know what I got.
Going to produce, and we'll produce receipts for that.
Yeah,
so
sure.
We'll get that wrapped up before the end of the weekend.
Okay, cool. All right.
And everybody, that'll be put on the Twitter. Both receipts will be screenshotted and put on the Twitter.
I wouldn't sacrifice my reputation just so I can keep a little bit of money. Don't worry. All right. Love you guys. Have a good one, okay?
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Thank you, guys. That was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, wait. You caught me with my finger on the close. I thought you were saying goodbye to me. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
No, that's it. I'm not streaming. We're done.
Okay.
Okay, stream on.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you streaming right now, Vosh?
I am currently streaming. Do you want me to mute so we can have a non-public finale to the conversation?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to hear what Dankula, his efforts that he talked about earlier with his white nationalist friends.
Right. If you want to procure information on that later, honestly, if you want to like way later in the future, that's okay. Like I've got a lot of other political stuff to chew over right now. But
okie doke. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, of course. Faraday, thank you very much for hosting. I really appreciate it. Count. Sorry, I didn't realize that you didn't want me streaming this. I guess I misinterpreted your statement, but yeah, of course I'll provide.
That's my fault. I didn't clarify that. I had a misunderstanding. That's
no worries.
That's entirely my fault.
All right. Be well.
Okay. Later, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Oh. Oh God. All right. That was the most difficult fucking optical juggle I've ever done in my life. Holy God. Jesus Christ. That was a really difficult, wait, oh God, sorry. For a second I forgot that I'm still streaming. Jesus, I was about to start dropping in bombs. Okay, wait, hold on. Let's count the total amount of money that we raised right now, right? Okay, as of this point forward, all donations are going to me, because I think it's weird that I have to, like, fucking donate to a charity. Okay, listen, so the total is... let me do the math. Hold on. Just a second. That's 270 times 0.7 because YouTube gets a cut equals that, plus 629.69, 629.69 equals, and then we add that to, yeah, that is nice, and then we add that to the subscriptions, which go to COVID, that's $70, $90, $150, plus $150. Okay, that's $998.69. I'll keep that saved. I'll write that down somewhere and we can donate that, or I'll give that off to Faraday or something. This is not for charity. Nope, we're back on. We're back. We're back on the we're back on it. Yeah, I didn't quite hit 1,000, but that's life, I guess. Man, that was a really difficult optical struggle. Jesus Christ.